Alvarez Roure, welcome to the Undraped Artist Podcast.
Hey, thank you. Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, I'm really glad. So where are you residing right now? Where am I speaking to you from?
Yeah, I'm in Jersey, New Jersey,
In New Jersey. Okay, but where are you originally from?
Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico. So tell me a little bit about that. How did you end up in the United States?
Because I came here actually to study music, to do a master's degree in music, which it was not offered in Puerto Rico at the time. I graduated from the Conservatory of Music. That's actually my degree. My college degree is a music performance.
No kidding.
Yeah.
So specifically, what did you do? Did you play the piano or did you
Play the
sing or what?
piano. Yeah, no, I don't sing. I don't think anybody would be
Me
happy if
neither.
I sing, right? I mean, you can't sing. It's part of a curriculum, actually. I sang for many years at the choir, but not as a soloist. And
Yeah.
I mean, I wish, but no.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I started music as a 10-year-old boy by just by chance, and then it really became a thing. I went to school, um, and then it was just natural for me. I knew I needed to go to college for music. I met my wife the last year of high school, and she was also very interested, and so it was kind of okay. So she was very interested in music. I was very interested in music, and we went to study music together
Are
as an
you
undergrad.
serious? That's way cool. So you both came to the United States to study music together?
Yeah, because we finished our undergrad in Puerto Rico, and then we wanted to continue. We wanted to do a master's degree, and there was no master's degree program. We just, it's
Yeah.
it's what everybody did at the time when you wanted to continue, with a master's degree program. You had to find a place in the United States, and here, honestly, some of the really best schools in the world are here, especially New York City. So we
Hmm.
came to New York City to study our master's degree. Yeah.
So what did you intend to do with it? What was your long-term plan?
That's hard to when it's this it's equally hard if you ask that to an artist, right? It's like, what are you you
Yeah,
just
I
want
know it does it's funny because I guess I
yeah.
live in sort of ignorant bliss, but I don't think of it that way. I think it'd be much harder to be a musician, but that's probably because I've had some success as a painter, you know?
Well,
But
yeah.
it seems like a musician today when you're I mean, how do you even make money? I don't even know how they do it anymore.
It's hard. It's very hard, especially for if you are in the well, I cannot say I can only talk from the classical, classical
Right.
area, which is what I studied, and then it's really it's very hard. It's very difficult to make a career as a soloist, especially for pianists, because other instruments, at least you would say maybe, I'll find an orchestra. I'll be part of an orchestra, which is very hard too, to be part of an orchestra, like a symphony orchestra. But you can always make chamber music groups.
Mhm.
For pianists, it's a little harder. It's not that it's easier for anyone. Classical music is hard. It's a hard field if you want to become a performer.
And yet
Yeah,
you both did it. So were you just sort
well,
of
we end up teaching.
you ended up teaching?
Yeah, we
Oh,
we
okay.
right the year we finished our degrees. I was offered a few different positions as a music teacher, teaching piano at different schools, and of course I was so happy. I just
Yeah.
got the job, and but I was always an artist. I was always self-taught, never studied before, except for when I was finishing my master's degree here in New York City. Um, I knew I wanted to study painting because I never did. I was always drawing, since I was since forever. I was drawing as a kid, and I actually developed a pretty kind of a good technique on my own, but very rigid, like very stiff, but very
Yeah.
precise. Yeah, like a kind of a very precise, photorealistic, I would say, you know. And but that was about it. And I always wanted to paint. And of course, I came to New York City. I went to the Metropolitan Museum of Art. I went to the Frick Collection, and visited a few galleries. And that thing kind of hit me. I knew I needed to really to learn how
Hmm.
to paint, and I wanted to do it. I wanted to do it with all my heart. And I was already a music teacher. I was like, oh, this is
So
hard.
about how old were you when you decided to pursue art?
I was about 24.
Okay, and you're already into a career as a music teacher.
Yeah.
Was this
This is
something sort of just kind of came? I mean, you've already explained that you did it as a child and everything, and you're self-taught, and you'd already accomplished some level of skill. But this idea to take it more seriously, did it come out of nowhere, or was it something that was always brewing in the background while you were even studying music?
it was always there.
Really?
Yeah. It's just that I think I was a little bit on denial because because I love music so much and I was already committed. Like it was a big commitment, I was studying at a college level, and when I started working, I guess I was like, okay, this is it. It's always gonna be a good hobby to have,
Hmm.
the arts, but it was just too strong. It was my first encounter with any art form. It was visual art, it was drawing. And and I actually remember as a very uh young kid telling my father that I wanted to be a painter when I grew up. So
Really?
yeah, somehow I kind of the idea disappeared after I started music, because I never studied, I guess, because I never went to any school of visual arts. The music really took over in a very serious and rigorous and disciplined way.
Hmm. Did your parents have a preference?
I don't think so.
No? So they would have been fine if you went to art school.
Oh, I'm sorry, what's that?
They would have been just as supportive if you went to art school as going to music school.
They were really supportive all my entire life. They've been very supportive. And actually, when I started transitioning from music to visual arts, my father was actually super excited about it.
He
I,
was. No
yeah, he was so
kidding.
excited. I think he was actually uh he probably knew that it was more natural, probably, in me. Maybe because
Really?
I think so. Yeah.
So you managed to go to New York to study music, and your
Mhm.
father thought that painting was more of your natural talent.
Yes.
Jeez, man, that's crazy. Because so many people would kill to be that good at music, to be able to go and study at your capacity. That's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Huh,
It is.
and
I'm
yeah.
I'm 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 consider myself a very lucky person to having parents that actually were so supportive, because what I did, I never knew that that was an issue. Like growing up with parents that were so supportive, it was, I thought that was natural. That was like every parent will support their kids, doing what they
Yeah.
want to do. And then I discovered that in music it happens a lot too. Like parents don't, normally they're not that happy if you tell them I want to go to college for music. That could be an issue. But for me, it
Well,
was like, oh, really? Is that parents are not that supportive?
what do you think it was? Because so my parents
Mm.
are very supportive, unbelievably supportive, but their support was a different kind of support. They wanted me to do something that they believed would not leave me homeless. So you could call that support too, right? It's all a matter of perspective. So
Yeah,
when your parents
mm,
are being supportive, they must have known something or had some sort of faith that it would all work out. Otherwise, how could they possibly not be living in crippling fear that their son was going to be a total loser?
I think they assume I was going to have some sort of success.
That's
They
incredible.
Yeah, they just say, yeah, he's good. He must made it. You
Wow,
know,
that's wild.
it was yeah, I have the assumption. I think they have the assumption that yeah, when you're good, you're supposed to succeed. And
But did you grow up in a middle class family, an upper class family, lower?
no, 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 middle class, totally. Yeah, my father was a photographer,
Oh,
and
okay, now it's starting to make sense.
well,
So
yeah,
so your father was already an artist in his own right.
yes,
So he understood that this is possible.
yes,
Okay,
yes, yes.
that's what I was looking for. There
He
had to be
knew,
something there.
yeah, exactly. If you have passion, if you love something, if you're good at it, you just need to find your way. That's what he
Yeah.
did.
That's what so he'd already done that. And then there are
Yeah,
parents like mine and many of the artists I interview that have 9 to 5 jobs and they can't even fathom
yeah.
the idea that their kid could just go out and make a living doing art of any sort. So that makes sense if he was a photographer. So he's already sort of walked that path in his own way and
It was.
okay.
I mean, he was always like, you know, we weren't in any way rich or whatsoever. It was like he was always working, but we were fine, I
Yeah.
guess. Uh,
That's excellent. And they're both still alive? Both your parents?
My father passed away.
Oh,
He
I'm
passed
sorry
away
to hear
really.
that.
Yeah, it was sad because it was really sad that he never saw me like achieve certain things,
Oh,
especially
man.
because he suffered from dementia. So by the time I was already getting some, recognition, he was alive, but he was not there. He didn't know what was going on. And I made a painting of him at the time. It was 2017, and I asked him to pose for me, obviously, and he was not clear. He didn't know exactly what was going on. He was constantly asking me what was he doing, like why he didn't have to be seated there. And I think it's my best painting. I think both. I painted my father and my mother, and I think those two are my best paintings.
Who is
There
your
are no
which painting is this of your father? Who is you do you remember? Of course, do you remember? A stupid question.
I'm sure
Do you remember your father? What
I
a
think
dumb question.
I think
Okay, so can you
you.
tell us which painting it is?
I think I said the one of all images I sent to you, the portrait of my father, that he's kind of staring at you, and it's a very, I would say, detailed, face, but then it kind of breaks
Hmm.
on his shirt, and the background is
Yeah, I think I have it up here in the
that's
slideshow.
yeah, mother. And you will see it there, because I know I sent it to you. And the rest of apart from the face, everything else is kind of I don't know, it's not super realistic, and it's kind of sketchy.
Right, right.
Yeah. Um, but anyway, I consider that to be probably my best painting. I was out of nowhere. I One of my best friends just sent me a text message last night, no, 2 days ago, asking me, "What is your best painting?" And I instantly reply, "It's my father's." Actually, I think my father and my mother portraits. Those two are my best two
Is it
paintings.
this it? Is this it?
Oh, no, that's Philip Glass.
Oh, okay.
That's my most
I'm
successful
clueless.
painting. That's my most successful um portrait. But yeah,
Most successful meaning it's brought you the most attention?
yeah, and if
Right.
yeah, that's a one.
That's your father.
My
Okay.
father. That
That's
to
beautiful.
me, thank you. To me, that's absolutely my best painting, but he haven't got any
Mm.
attention actually. He
Really?
have Yeah, I have sent it to competitions everywhere. I've never got any attention. I don't know.
You never know these things. It's so
No,
bizarre.
I know.
You never can tell. But by the way, officially, I want to congratulate. I've already done this in person because obviously we spent some time together. But man, congrats on winning the Portrait Society Draper Prize a couple years ago.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that was awesome.
Here, I was so happy for you when you got the people choice. That's such
And you got that as well, didn't you? Win Draper
I
and
got
People's
that.
Choice.
Yeah,
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 yeah. You
yeah.
man, you
That
you took it all.
you know what? That the people choice award is, to me, it's a very, very it's not just important, but it's also, it means a lot. So
Yeah. It,
kudos, and you got get, winning that thing, because it means, the people there consider your work to be absolutely the best one, and that at the part, I don't know, to me that's a very, it means a lot. It's
it did. I was really grateful to
congratulations.
get that as well. Yeah. It means a lot, but it doesn't pay the bills, you know?
Well, yeah, well, this is, you know how it is. You
Yeah.
need to keep working and to keep trying to make it every day and
Yeah.
every month and every year. It's how it is. That's the nature of this profession. I guess that's why parents sometimes are not so supportive of it.
Exactly, man. They're scared out of their minds.
You have to reinvent yourself every time.
Yeah.
Nothing is written in stone with this profession.
No, no. I remember in the early years. I mean,
Mm.
I've been at this 22 years. You've been at this what, like 8 or something? I think you told me.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So you're
Because
still in the early stage, really. Even though we're pretty close to the same age. I think you were born in the 70s too, right?
76, 1976.
Yeah,
Yes.
so I'm 74. So,
You're like my
but
sister.
what's that?
You're the same age as my sister.
Awesome.
And
So,
I see her like, yeah, we're the same. It's the
yeah,
same.
no, once you get to be close to 50, it's like 2 years is nothing, right? But it's what I was gonna say though is the first so I've been at this 22 years professionally since 2002.
Mm,
And I tell you what, man, like for the first, I don't know, maybe 10 years, at least 5 years, every morning I'd get up pinching myself like, can this last another day?
mhm.
You know, is this actually happening? Am I actually making a living selling paintings? And it seemed like it was so surreal that it felt but it felt so fragile, like at any day it could stop working and stop happening.
Yeah,
You
it's kind
know,
of private. I yesterday I saw somebody posted a story on Instagram. It's Carl Jung. It says, I loved it. It said that you start living, you s- I think it's something like you start living after 40, and before that you've been just researching.
that's
And
really
it makes so
positive.
yeah, it made so much sense to me, because that's exactly how I feel. Um, but going back to, because you said that I've been in the painting thing for 8 years. It's true, but I feel like I've been there for a long time just because of the music.
Mhm. Why is that? You mean
Because it's just, yeah.
there's a connection you're saying between music and painting, or you just feel like you've been in the arts in general for a long time?
No, there is a really close connection between music and painting.
Hmm.
And having studied music um for so many years, it's now I can see that it was it wouldn't be that different if I would have started in painting 20 years ago, 25 years ago, and I started music. I think somehow it's a way of, let me see how can I express this. It's kind of hard to express it, but what I'm trying to say is that as an artist, I feel like I've been painting for a lot longer than I have actually been painting, and it's because of being involved in music so deeply. Actually,
Hmm.
studying studying painting and studying piano, a lot of the things that my piano teacher used to tell me. on how, technically speaking, about the how to incorporate my body, how to use my weight, how to use my arm. And those are the things that I heard from my teacher too, about when you are putting paint in your canvas. And so I
Hmm.
started like, "Oh, there's really a connection here, not just the spirituality of it or whatever, or or the the personal part, but also the physical aspect."
Really?
That's how I
See,
feel,
that's
yeah.
something I don't understand at all because I have no experience with music
Mm,
at all. There's so many artists that do, and I've heard this before that there's a connection between music and painting, but it's something that I haven't personally been able to experience. So, can
mhm.
you be more specific of something that, a specific thing about playing the piano that you can relate to drawing and painting?
Yes, at least for myself, because I cannot speak for other artists, musicians, but at least for myself, um, I'm not a composer, though. I'm not. I cannot compose music. I mean, I can
But you
put notes
don't,
on paper, but I no. I mean, there's no value in it.
right?
I don't think there's anything that I can compose in music that would be like really interesting or valuable. I can make a line of, like a melodic line, but that doesn't mean I'm a composer. That's a different thing. But as an
Mhm.
interpreter, I know a lot of compositions, of course, because I've been playing, and somehow when I paint and when I construct my paintings, I feel like, there's melody in my drawing, and there's harmony in my colors, which is exactly what
Mm.
happens when you are playing a piece of music. There are harmonies, and there's a melody, specifically for pianists, and that's the way I feel with painting. Also, you have to make sure when you're playing something, uh, you have to balance correctly your melody against your harmony, your accompaniment. And that balance is a very important part in painting.
Hmm.
And color, there's a lot of musicians will use the term color when they're producing sound. That's a very common term for musicians, like try to change your color. That a teacher
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Huh.
yeah. A teacher will tell you that's a very common term used in music, the color of the sound.
Isn't that
So,
funny because painters often use the term note, like this note of color right here. And it's just sort of going, have you heard that before? Painters use
no,
that term. You haven't?
no,
Oh, I hear it all the
no,
time.
that is great.
Yeah, I'm gonna just put this little note of color right here, this little note of this, or
That's
little note of that.
true. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
interesting.
I see it as almost as a different languages is almost like you can say the same thing, but you have to translate it.
Yeah.
Another way of saying the same thing. Actually, there was a time when I had this urgency of started painting things that I kind of started visualizing. They were musical pieces,
Yeah.
and somehow I started having these visual representations of them, and started painting visual representations of pieces that I heard or that I knew or
Real
played.
How in the
And
world would you do that? How do you do that? I can't
I
even fathom that.
it came naturally. It came just naturally, like
Huh.
or maybe
But like, so, okay, but a piece of music, particularly a piece of piano music, is somewhat non-objective. There's no narrative to it or no subject to it, right? But a painting, you have to choose a subject,
right, but most of the
unless it's
paintings
abstract painting, of course.
exactly, but most of the paintings that I'm talking about, or at least the ones that I did, came from musical pieces that had a story, and
Oh,
and the composer actually um, took the idea from literature or from poetry.
oh, okay. So that gives you kind of a jump start.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. So
Oh,
there's
that's really interesting.
piano piece that's called Undine, which is a mermaid. It's a and so I painted that. I had this vision of how I want to make this, um, how I imagine this piece of music, but there was already a title to it that was attached to an image. I mean, if I tell you that, if I tell you an Undine, I don't know how you would imagine that, but you could certainly make an image out of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But in my case, I think it's because I was so attached to this musical piece. It was something that I consider one of the most beautiful and one of the deepest uh, piano compositions ever created, and I was obsessed with this piano piece. So I could say it was a big inspiration. I don't like to
Yeah.
use it too much, but yeah, I that's the closest.
Hmm.
Uh, I was so inspired, by this musical piece. Yeah.
How how did you transition from a music teacher to a painter? I mean, that's a pretty big step, right? Or maybe big's not the right word. It's definitely a major sidestep, right? How did you do that?
It was slowly. It was very
Really?
slow. Yeah, and it was frightening too. It was a big decision
Yeah.
here. I don't know, between my wife and me, we decided that I I was gonna be teaching less and painting more carefully. From being a full-time um, piano teacher. I was never a school teacher, like a public school teacher. I
Right.
was
It was
like
private?
no, these were music schools. So the only subject that you teach there is music. So I was a piano teacher at these particular music schools, and so I was teaching, from Monday to Saturday. And actually, I hated when I had to teach on Saturdays because it was my Saturday.
Yeah.
And you know, um, and then I even had a Sunday job that was a music director at a church.
So you're working 7 days a week.
I was working 7 days a week, yeah. And
Jeez.
and my wife was still, but we didn't have kids at this time. And it was this music job is after, basically it's like a after school teaching. So I was teaching from 3 p.m. on. So I have my mornings, you know. And and eventually, actually, the, 3 days of the week I was teaching on a private school. So I forgot about that. So yeah,
It's been a while.
yeah, it's been a while. And but the idea was, I need more time to paint, and so I need to cut some of these days of teaching. But what I did is that I started up sending uh like work to competitions, like to magazine competitions and any sort of art competition. And as soon as I started getting a little bit of that recognition, I knew that it was probably, worth it to start cutting some days of teaching and dedicating more time. And yeah, I mean,
Hmm.
that's how I did it. It's just I have no other way to explain it. It was just,
Hmm.
I guess.
So
And yeah.
you use these competitions
Mhm.
just as a marker to say, okay, the world is ready to accept my work. Not so
Yeah,
much. It's not so much that they brought in some kind of monetary security for you,
exactly. Yeah, it was
right?
not.
Just built your confidence a little bit and said, okay, if they say I'm good, then maybe I can do this.
That is exactly it. Yeah.
So
I'm telling
how when you're only teaching half time or whatever it was, how did you make up the difference financially?
you. As I said, the main at that time, the main source of income here was our job as the music director. The uh, the Sunday job, which included 3 days of private school, I didn't cut on that. So I kept
Okay.
Sunday, and then because uh, it was a well-paid job, you know. I was the
Okay.
organist, and between me and my wife, we directed the choir. We played the services. Yeah, it was a nice job, and it even gave us benefits, which is
No kidding. That's wild.
a great job. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. So
I
that
kept
paid the
that.
bills.
Yeah, we kept that, but that was Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Yeah, basically
Okay.
the days where the piano teaching at the music school, and that was like a part-time job. And those were the days that started we started cutting. I started cutting those days, and
So
it worked.
Thursday through Saturday is the only time you had to paint for a while. And
Exactly.
did
Yeah.
you just bust your tail during that period on Tuesday or Thursday through Saturday?
It was pretty crazy. I was painting a lot, and actually, because the after like they say, especially Thursdays and Fridays, I didn't have to work in the mornings. So I painted during nighttime a lot. Like I never had a problem staying overnight, you know, painting. I loved it. I can't do it
Hmm.
anymore. I have kids, you know, we have kids now, and I wake up and I take my kids to school, but now I have to wake up early. So that's something, even though I like to do, I don't do it anymore.
That's
But
same. I was the same way. Totally
yeah,
got, you know, it'd be 10 o'clock at night and my wife wanted to watch TV or something. And I just kept on creeping back into the studio. Like, and
yeah,
next
right.
thing you know, it's 3 in the morning. She's fallen asleep and gone to bed. I'm still painting.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah, once you have kids, that changes everything. You can't, if you want to be a decent father at all, you got to rethink things.
yeah. Those were hard years after we had kids, because then we had like I only did the late music teaching job. My wife was teaching in the mornings. So while she was teaching, I was here in the mornings.
Hmm.
I came and then I went to my school, you know, teaching the afternoon program I was teaching. But I was taking care of the kids in the mornings. So, you know, painting and having kids, and always afraid of the materials, you know, on the film,
Hmm.
that it was kind of stressful. I don't regret it at all, but you know, it was hard.
How old are your kids now?
Oh, my son is 12 and my daughter is 17. She's driving.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, that's cool. So, okay. So, at what point, when you're balancing all these things, were you able to just say, okay, no more? I mean, obviously, well, maybe it's not so obvious. I'm assuming you're still doing music for your
I'm on my yes,
personally,
personally.
right. But professionally, when did you switch from music to art?
I stopped teaching completely a few years ago, because I started having some financial success, you know, financial.
Yeah.
I started getting commissions, and it all started after 2016. I had a big show, a big solo show that I was offered at a big gallery in Connecticut at a university, and
Hmm.
they I applied to that gallery, and they accepted my proposal, and it's like a year in advance. You know, they give you the date. It's like we're gonna be showing a year from now.
Hmm.
So I had like a full year to prepare that exhibition. It was a solo show, but it was a big, big gallery, and I didn't have, you know, enough work to
Yeah.
fill this space. But I felt like, oh, you know, it's a year. So I started painting like crazy during that year, and I started painting big, big paintings because I wanted to fill the space. And I had a few good paintings already, so I was like, okay, I'm getting there. I did my exhibition. That was fall 2016, and after the show was over, it was like it was a month or two, I don't remember. But after the show was over, I just got a commission out of that, right? Didn't sell anything.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of depressing, and it was, oh my God. I've been working for a year to do this big show here, and really nothing was sold. But this person came, and she loved my work, and she commissioned me a small portrait of her daughter. And she also had a connection with a person, a curator actually, that works at the National Portrait Gallery. So
Wow.
that is the point that really, make a big difference, because I had that's the time
Hmm.
after that big exhibition. I was so like, God, so disappointed, and so depressed. Nothing happened, and I felt like my work was not good enough. And I just discovered that, or at least I felt like, I think it's because anything I painted here is really, really, really mine. I don't know how to explain it, but it was a time that I was painting. It was not necessary. I don't think the works were bad. Well, some were not that good, but a few of them were good. But it's just not. Nothing was really particularly uh, 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 something that you would look at and you would think, "Oh, that's mine completely. That's my style." You know?
Oh, you hadn't found your voice?
No, not at all. Yeah, everything was kind of a generic, generic way of painting, and some of the pieces were better than others, but everything looked like, I don't think that's actually mine. So, after this,
Is it just me or the rest of you guys also get weirdly excited when you order new paint? Because I don't know about you, but when I get paint in the mail, it feels like Santa just dropped my Christmas presents off at my doorstep. With Vasari paint, my paint of choice and the podcast sponsor, it's even more exciting. And let me show you why. Because when Vasari shows up, it comes in this incredible box where each tube lays in this little compartment perfectly formed around the tube in this nice soft foam. And it's surrounded by velvet, red velvet. Now you got to ask yourself, if a paint comes so carefully protected and surrounded by red velvet, you got to wonder if this paint is worthy of royalty. It is. Vasari is. So if you haven't tried Vasari, you're seriously missing out. And the thing about Vasari, it's not only the best paint out there, it's also made by an incredible company that's been around for 30 years and knows its customer by name. Do yourself a favor, go to vasaricolors.com and order yourself some for your next painting.
this thing happened, and I was here at the studio, I decided that I needed to start painting in a very different way, and I really needed to take a different route. So I thought, you know what? I'm gonna start painting, and I don't know what's gonna happen, but I don't care. Whatever I paint, if it's just a disaster, I'm just gonna throw it away. And this is the time I painted that Philip Glass painting that at the beginning of the podcast, I told you
Yeah,
this is my most successful painting.
it's a great painting.
Thank you. And that painting just came out of desperation and out of being completely lost and feeling like I was going nowhere with what I was doing. And that was my first or second painting after this kind of a time where I had to do something completely new and completely mine. I didn't know what I was doing. I guess I knew, but without knowing. You know what I mean?
No, I'm not sure I do actually.
But I didn't know I could do that. That's what I
Oh,
mean. I
gotcha.
didn't know at
Yeah.
all. I just kind of tried to experiment, but at the end, I just discovered that, oh, I can paint like this. I can paint with, because that painting had a very different approach from anything
Mm-hmm.
I painted before that.
Hmm.
Everything was everything was completely different. So
Hmm.
having painted these, and having now a connection with a person that has a connection to the National Portrait Gallery. The painting was sent to the curator, and the curator just loved this painting. She loved it. She said, and also this is Philip Glass. This is somebody who is really well known and has contributed so much in the world. I had the opportunity to meet Philip Glass, and and so I knew it was a big shot. I knew I have something here that is important. That is, I can make something valuable out of this. I mean, Philip Glass. So I painted the portrait, and so it was because of this exhibition that I told you, and the person who actually had the connection with the curator at the National Portrait Gallery. She loved my work, of course, and she thought, I mean, it was good thing if I can connect with the curator, and
Yeah.
yeah, it was great. And then I
That's an
showed it.
understatement.
Yeah. So I sent her a picture of this painting, which I just finished, and she loved it. And she told me, we could possibly um she's going to propose it to the National Portrait Gallery as an acquisition. So
Did
it's a
they buy
possible.
it?
Yes, they did.
Get out of town.
If
You're in
you
the
if you
National
can believe,
Portrait Gallery?
yes.
Oh my gosh, dude. That is
Uh,
killer.
yeah.
Holy crap, man.
But that's what I mean. It's like you are in this obscurity and you don't know what to do with your life. You're just trying to make it, but opportunities sometimes arise. As I said, the exhibition was a total fiasco. That's how I did. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
personally, I felt like I didn't achieve anything, but you see, like I somebody just comes and see my work, and she feels like, oh, I know someone that it could be very important for you as a connection. And then I had this painting of Philip Glass. So what I think is, not having this exhibition, I would probably not have ever met this person. But at the same time, even if I have the exhibition and I met her, if I haven't met Philip Glass and have the painting of Philip Glass, so it's kind of of I don't know, things that had to just to happen and to coincide, and all of a sudden it's what you need.
Yeah.
Because this was a big.
Mm.
I mean, this is a small painting. It's not that I got rich or anything, but it's just being an artist of now I am part of the National Portrait Gallery.
Yeah, that's
uh,
so huge.
it opens doors, and in 2020 they bought another painting of mine.
They have two of yours.
I have two now.
Okay, you're freaking killing me, dude. I'm so jealous. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Congratulations. Holy crap.
Thank you,
Wow,
thank you.
two paintings in the National Portrait Gallery. So the Porch Society's in DC. Are they on the wall or are they in storage?
They are on the website. You go to
Okay.
the website and you search, and that's me, and those are my paintings that you will find
Right,
there.
right.
They are not right now on view, and that's
Yeah, I know how that is. I'm in a small museum.
they rotate all the
And
time.
yeah, and a lot of times the painting isn't even there. You just never know. But still, the fact that they bought it is such an honor. Holy cow,
Well,
man.
let me say this: the Philip Glass portrait was exhibited for a year before pandemic, and then pandemic came, they closed, and so the the
So
the,
it
the
really
painting.
was on the wall in the National Portrait
It
Gallery.
was. It was. I have pictures of it. But the other one, the one that they bought in 2020, they bought it in August. The museum was closed by the time,
Okay.
and they acquired this, and they haven't even unveiled it yet.
Oh
The
man, you have to
painting,
let me know when they do. That's so
I
exciting, man.
I will let you know, and I can't wait, for
I
them
can't
to
even
finally
imagine.
unveil this.
That's every
I
person's
haven't
dream
seen.
to be in a major museum like that. I mean, the national for a portrait artist, that's like the Met, right? The National Portrait Gallery.
Yes,
Uh,
absolutely.
yeah,
Yes.
unbelievable.
But I haven't seen this portrait since. I want to see this portrait there. I want to see it.
Yeah, I know, but still, it's still so great. What I mean, what's serious bragging rights right there, man. Seriously. So, gosh, the thing that I get from that
Mhm.
is that you just never know what things you do in your career are going to lead to success. It's like you just got to take those opportunities. And
Yes.
it could be the simplest thing, like speaking to a group of people about art in an old folks home or something. And one of them is related to someone who's got money or connections. It's like you just never know how you're going to end up meeting the right people who are going to put you in the right places.
That is exactly it. And that's why when you ask me about uh, how did I transition to this to that, I feel like I don't have an explanation for it other than what you said. Just take, as
Do
many
everything, right?
do everything, and
Yeah.
there's a potential opportunity behind everything you do. But do your best always, of course. Somehow that portrait of Philip Glass came out really good, and it came out really good because of this experience that I had, that I felt I was not good enough of a portrait artist. And so I put all my energy and I put all my hope, and the portrait is not even big, Jeff. It's at 16
Well,
by 16.
life size head, right?
It's a life size head, exactly.
Yeah. I figured it wasn't that big.
Exactly. And so all those big paintings I painted for this show, nothing happened with them. A lot of them are here in a storage that I have here in my studio, and some of
Hmm.
them I consider just I don't even want to unroll them. I roll them, I put them in my storage, and I feel like this is a work that I don't feel. I mean, I should even show it to anyone.
Right. Oh,
So
we've
I
all
feel
got
like
paintings like
really,
that.
what I'm sorry, what's that?
We've all got paintings like that.
Yeah.
No doubt.
But I feel really like after that moment, after 2016, 2017, I think is where I feel like okay, I have decent work. And again, not everything is actually that good, but I wouldn't even look before 2016.
Hmm.
I was
Oh
just
man.
uh,
Yeah, that's wild. What a ride you've been on. So cool, dude. So cool. Gosh, and again, not to beat a dead horse here, but it's weird. I'm thinking about my podcast right now. This
mhm,
podcast. It's
yes.
doing really well, better than I ever expected it would. And I really only did this to meet people like you. I mean, we already know each other, but to be able to meet people, to be able to pick the brains of great artists like you, that's the reason I did it. But it takes so much time. And I realized, God, how long can I do this? I remember saying to my wife last night we were driving somewhere, and I said, I'm just going to keep doing it. I'll just do it forever. And at some point, it'll it'll pay for itself. It'll take care of itself. Like you just got to keep showing up,
Yes.
and at some point things work out.
You know what's
Um, and a
crazy?
lot of people quit too early. I guess that's my point. They quit too early. They're like, "Oh, I bombed this show. I'm not worth it," or "I didn't win this contest. I'm no good," and they quit too early. And it would be so sad if you quit right before you meet the person who knows the curator at this great museum, right? How sad would that be? And that's what I was telling my wife about the podcast. I'm not quitting because at some point this thing is going to it's going to be big. Like it's just
Absolutely.
going to happen. It's just going to happen. I'm
Well,
going to quit. And if it doesn't and I die and it doesn't, well, I met lots of great people like you. But I had the same attitude in my art career as you did. You just keep plugging away and then eventually
look,
things start to
I have
line
to
up.
say, I have to say this. To me, being here with you at your podcast is something I you have to understand this. I've been seeing you. I've been seeing your paintings for many, many years.
Oh, I
Like
appreciate that.
you're one of my heroes. It's true.
Thanks, man.
Like you and the people, most of the people that are there for many years at the Portrait Society who are
Mm-hmm.
fighting, like you were and are my heroes. And so I only dream to one day, be part of a Portrait Society, and but to be here at your podcast and to know you at this level, it's unthinkable for me, because
Dude, you made my
I
day, man.
remember
I appreciate that.
it's completely true. You have no idea the amount of people you inspired. But you probably do. But I
Not
don't know if you do. But I know the people who are listening right now, they know you're a big shot. You are an incredible artist, and just the way you're saying it, it's like you never know like where you can be someday.
yeah.
You just don't quit.
No, I'm not quitting. Like I believe in this project, just like I
No, but I
believed in
mean
my
in
paintings.
general,
Yeah.
we have to tell this to anyone who is really
Mm-hmm.
dreaming of something. Don't quit, don't quit. Just keep it on, keep it on, keep there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Especially if you see potential. I think you did it right because I think we'd be doing a disservice. And correct me if I'm wrong. I think we'd be
Mhm.
doing a disservice if we said that to the public in general. And this is almost a pet peeve of mine. Like
Mhm.
there are some people that just shouldn't be artists. There are some people that just shouldn't be engineers. There are some people that shouldn't be nurses. If you're an a-hole, don't be a nurse. People need nice people as nurses. You know what I mean? And it's
Yeah.
like, but what you did was you did the right thing. You started seeing you started seeing that you could win some contests, which was evidence that you have the potential to do this.
Mhm.
And then you kept pushing forward and forward and forward. But
Absolutely.
but it's not. I genuinely don't believe, and I hope I don't get a bunch of hate for this, but it's not for everybody. Like I wouldn't say that to everybody. If this is not innate to you, if you don't have something deep down in you that makes you equipped to be a successful artist, I wouldn't say just keep going, just keep going, just keep going. Like,
Yeah.
you know. But you did the right thing, in my opinion, where you started looking for evidence. Like, do I have the chops for this? Do I have what it takes?
Right.
And then when you saw that evidence, you're like, okay, I'm gonna push forward. I'm gonna do a show, even though I'm gonna take an entire freaking year, not get paid for any of these paintings, and risk not selling a single one. But I saw the evidence, and so I'm gonna push ahead. And it all panned out, right?
Right. Yes, and I think it's because what you say, and I know this is you too, like because you have passion.
Yeah.
Like you don't care, right? You'll be there and you will take anything. You have so much passion for it. You don't do this, Jeff. Um of course we all need to make a living. I mean we all need to
We gotta
get
pay
that,
for the
but
passion.
exactly. But you have to really get so much rejection, and you will
Mhm.
get over it, and I think that's the difference when you are okay getting rejected, and not getting just okay, this is it, I quit. I think there's something inside of you that's telling you, that's probably evidence too, as if you should continue or not. I don't know. That's
Yeah.
why.
That's a good point. It's because I've had plenty of rejection.
Me too.
So, but I still believe that. I've taught for 20 years. 20 geez, no, I started my school in 2002, so it's been 22 years. I can hardly believe that. I'm old. But I've seen people with talent and I've seen people that are never going to make it. They just don't have what it takes, you know. I believe you can teach anyone to draw pretty well
Mhm.
and paint okay. But to make a living, you've got to really get some chops, right? And and I would say that I don't know the percentage. I'm not even going to throw out a percentage out there, but in 22 years of teaching, it's not that many people that have the chops to make a living and do this, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
So it while I say on one hand you did the right thing and you looked for evidence,
Mhm.
you also, I agree with that. It's a fine line because you also don't want to see the negative evidence, the evidence that might, or you don't want to take the experiences that might seem like evidence that you suck and let that crush your soul either, right?
Right.
So, but I guess being realistic with yourself, like,
Yeah.
do I have the chops to do this? And if you really believe you have the chops to do this and you have the passion, then freak, man, don't give up.
Yeah.
But if you don't really think you have the chops for this, then you might want to give up because it's freaking hard. That's all
It's
I'm saying. Am I crazy to say that? Is that a terrible thing to say?
no, I think you're completely right, and especially artists in art. I mean, musicians, painters, dancers, writers. There's an element of sensitivity that we, I guess, we are all affected. Emotions are a big part of this. So
Yeah.
you have to deal with that too. Some people are just cold, and I don't know. I guess that's why I always feel like this shows us. I don't know. Maybe I'm trying. Maybe I'm being a little bit, but I feel
No, I
like
agree with that.
you are born with something.
Artists are
Maybe
like
a level of
born.
sensitivity or sense.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but there must be something that yeah, that you have from the very beginning. Um, I don't know. I remember how passionate I was when I was very, very, very little about drawing. I never wanted to have any instruction because I felt I was going to lose interest in trying to please a teacher. If I had
Mm.
to do something that my teacher told me to do, that was to me like a no. As a child, I'm talking about
You
as a child.
thought that way as a child,
Yeah,
really?
because my parents wanted me to. Oh, there's a local art school, and the teacher was the known artist of the town, and I was like, no, don't do that to me. I don't want to do that.
Mhm.
I just do what I want to do. I just want to draw what I want to draw. I have so much passion for doing what I wanted to do. Specific, you know, most of the time were faces, like
But you also
from
had natural talent, right?
well, uh, I guess that well,
A lot of artists don't believe in talent. I think that's a bunch of crap. There is absolutely talent. To say
yeah,
there's no talent is to say there's no aptitude.
it's
And
true.
you can't tell me that there's no aptitude for anything.
Yeah.
And we all have aptitudes for certain things. I mean, to reiterate my point earlier, it's like if I'm 5'1"
Mhm,
and I can't jump
mhm,
and I'm not coordinated, don't try out for the NBA and don't argue with me that I can be, Michael Jordan or LeBron James, like just because I have passion. It's just not possible. Those
mhm,
two men have aptitude for basketball, not to mention the physical body for it, right?
mhm,
And yet with art, for some reason, people are like, no, art, anyone can do it. And as long as you love it, you'll become Michelangelo. And I just it's an interesting thing with art, because I hear so many great painters saying there's no talent. There's no such thing as talent. It's just hard work. I just don't believe that.
No, I'm with you. I think there's
Yeah.
talent,
Yeah.
absolutely. But I think there's talent. I think it's not only for artists. I mean, there's
No,
a
everything.
exactly like there must if you are a doctor, you must be a talented doctor. You must be somebody who has a passion for
Hopefully, so you don't
something.
kill anybody.
Exactly, but I'm
Right.
saying this. A lot of people chooses this profession because it's obviously really well paid. It's like they're looking out for money, but they're terrible doctors. So I would say these are not the talented ones.
Right.
The
I
ones
agree.
just there for the money, and that's probably the difference in terms of um. I think visual any type of art is resilient because we are not thinking about the money. We want money, of course. We need money to survive. But if did you choose your career thinking about money? There's no
No.
chance, a
No,
little
you
chance
can't.
that
Well,
you
you'd
will
be an
do that.
idiot too. No, you would have tried to be
That's
a
what I mean.
doctor.
There's
Yeah.
a very, very little chance that you will pick art as a career just for the money. But that could happen to other professions.
You know what?
So
I know a guy that did. I kid you not. I have a friend. I have a friend that had a
okay.
good job. He had a good job, but he knew an artist that was making a killer living. So he went and took a workshop with this guy
Mhm.
and he started mimicking his work.
Oh my
And he never became as good as this artist, this other artist, but and I'm not going to mention who it is, but the artist he mimicked was one of my guests on the podcast.
okay.
I just don't want to piss off my guest that he had been
Of course.
but
Sure.
he mimicked one of my guests on my podcast and he actually made a great living. This guy was making back in 2008 six figures easy, like
The,
maybe double six figures. And he did it for the money.
the guy who mimicked the other one?
The guy who mimicked the other one. He I'm totally blowing your mind. I kid you not. He said, "Okay, I'm doing this. This guy's making a great living. I hate my job. I hate my job. And so I'm going to mimic this guy and I'm going to become an artist." He started going to art fairs everywhere and selling at art fairs. Now, don't get me wrong. This guy had talent. It wasn't, again, to my point, he had talent, but he literally had a good career. He just didn't like it. And he wanted to find something lucrative. And
Right.
so he saw that this other artist was making a great living and financially. And he's like, yeah, I'll just do that. So there's at least one man on the planet that actually chose painting for financial reasons. I couldn't even, it's just,
Oh,
well, it's unheard of.
the most bizarre part of your story here is not that he chose it, it's that he actually made it.
Oh, he did it. This guy's something else. Now, so it may
Crazy, right?
sound like I'm speaking to him about him in a derogatory way. No, I love this guy. The guy is brilliant.
No, it
And I
sounds
honestly think anything he did, he could have made a living. He just decided one day, I'm going to be that guy. And he became that guy because he's brilliant and he's got a ton of talent, business wise, a ton of talent. He is a talented artist. He ended up sort of finding his own voice, but he started by mimicking this guy because that's the guy whose career he envied, you know? And it's just mind blowing. So it can be done,
right.
but
But this
but
is a
most of us
great.
don't. Most of us are like, I just want to be an artist and I'll figure it out.
Mhm. Exactly, exactly. And but this guy definitely had talent. I mean, he has talent. He's
No, he's
talented.
got talent. There's no question.
He probably knew. He probably knew. I
Yeah.
think when you have talent, you know it.
Yeah.
I'm pretty convinced about that. I
No,
don't
I
know.
don't think he would have tried it if he didn't know he had the potential. I mean, that would have been just plain stupid. But still, it's still strange to think, I don't
Mhm.
like my job. I think I can make more money becoming a painter. That was his attitude. And he did. He totally did. It's amazing. But anyway, I want to say his name because he's I'm not gonna, but he's impressive that he pulled it off. However you feel about the purity of art and whether or not you should do it for money, you got to give a guy like that props that he just
Yeah.
puts his mind to something and he made it work, regardless of his intention. You got to give him props.
Something interesting you mentioned is that he started mimicking or copying somebody he admired so much, and then eventually he found his voice. I think that's true for most of
Oh yeah, of
us.
course it is.
Right? Like I was an imitator, complete.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I just wanted to get better, and the way, the only way I kind of knew I was gonna get better, it was just by looking at the people that I admire so much. Like
Oh
I
yeah, we
find.
all do it. The thing about him that was different is how calculated it was. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean the guy had a mission and he chose somebody. Most of us I feel like we get our idols sort of what's the word? Organically. We don't
Mhm.
it's not like we're out there on the hunt for an idol. They just show
Right,
up in our lives and we're
right.
like, "Oh man, I would kill to be like that person," right? Or those people. This guy's no, it was different. It was like find an artist to mimic, make a living.
But he found one that was already successful.
Very successful. Like I said, he's been on the podcast. He's incredibly successful. But he's like, yeah, it was a trip. It's very different. But you're right. I mean, back to your original point. Most of us, 99.999% of us, do it despite the fear that we may never make money.
Yes, yes. And that I think that is that is tied to talent. This is what I
Yeah.
was trying to express. That idea only can come with when you have that natural talent. Otherwise, I will quit. It's like,
Yeah, it's too hard.
okay, not good enough.
You know
Whatever.
what though? My feeling has been again with the teaching is for like with all the people I've seen, what I've learned is the ones who really make it are the ones who have both. They have talent and work ethic. If you're missing either of those, you're toast.
Yeah.
Period. And I'm literally thinking of a few of my students,
Mm,
like John Darley, for example. I'm sure he's been on a lot of podcasts. He's one of my students. He's done really well. And I hope he doesn't mind that I used his name. I don't think he will because it's all compliments.
yeah.
But man, when he studied with me, he worked like a dog. It was like 50 hours a week and he had talent. And it
Mhm.
shows now in the end. Like it's the best of both worlds. And I had there was one point where I had two students come in at the same time. And neither of them are likely to make great livings. And here's why. But it was still interesting.
Mhm.
But the one begged me to study with me, but I wasn't sure this person had what it took. But they really wanted to do it. And I said, okay. This person worked like a dog and
Mm,
got quite good. And then at the
mm,
same time, a girl who had an abundance of talent
mm,
signed up, but she never worked. All she did was dilly dally, look at her phone, whatever.
mm.
And eventually they sort of met in the same place, you know, which was interesting. But if I could have smushed them together, it would have been the perfect thing. Her talent with his work ethic, it would have been magical, right? Yeah, that's just what I've learned in all these years of teaching. It's like you need both components. You can't do it without both of them.
But also, this is probably why so many people think that talent is actually not real, that you just need to work hard. Because at the end, probably, I'm guessing that your student who worked hard probably got even a better level than the other one who was
He
talented but
did.
didn't.
He did.
But that can be confusing. It's like, see, the one who works, that's just all you need. But at the end, I know what you mean. Uh, that's part of the equation that has to come with some
Right. But
sort of.
here's the key though. This is the important thing. Then
Mm,
there's the third student that I've seen
uh-huh.
that has both and passes both of them. Right.
Mm,
That's why it's not confusing. So the one who has lacks the talent and the work ethic can surpass someone with just talent, but neither the lazy talented person nor the less talented workhorse will ever pass, even come close to the talented workhorse. That
right,
person is unpassable, except by another talented workhorse, right?
right,
That's my point. Like
yeah,
that's the one that every teacher wants to teach,
yeah,
like
yeah.
the kid with the talent and the work ethic.
Absolutely. Actually, um, the other day, actually, I was yesterday. I think it was yesterday. My wife went to with my son to play tennis at a tennis court a few days ago, and there's this guy who actually started training. He just offered some sort of tips to my son, and then he told my wife, you know what? Um, he has something that is you cannot. What's he said something that he has something that you cannot teach, which is that he wants to learn.
Ah,
And I was like, oh, that's great, because that's also part. I guess
that's talent too.
ex- exactly. That's I was thinking I think that's also talent when you are
Mm-hmm.
eager to keep learning and to finding the way to get better.
Or a gift. You might call that a gift more than a talent. I don't know. Maybe it's semantics. I don't know. I guess I don't know the technical definition of talent, but it's by the very least, it's a
Call it
gift.
anyway, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's the same. Talent is must be a gift.
Mm-hmm. This episode is brought to you in part by Rosemary Brushes. If you're one of my listeners who's a professional artist, you're already using Rosemary brushes. But for the rest of you, come on. Take your work a little more seriously. Stop buying the other brands. It's just not worth it. Every now and then you may get lucky and buy a good brush from another brand, but use the brand that professionals like myself are using. Go to rosemaryandco.com, link in the description or the show notes, and get yourself some quality brushes before your next painting.
Yeah,
Hmm.
awesome. Yeah, we agree. I think we agree on that.
Yeah. Be interesting to see people's response to that because I know that it's a kind of a one of those talking points or,
I
you
saw
know,
that a lot when I was a piano teacher.
you did?
I oh gosh, there were a few kids who were just incredible, and it's easy to say on a piano, on an instrument, a musical instrument. My instrument is a piano, because there is something that it's you basically cannot teach, which is the coordination.
Oh,
There's
yeah. I mean, they can get better, they can get more coordinated, but again, to the basketball analogy, they're not gonna be
exactly, but
they're
I had
never gonna be that good.
I didn't actually had to basically say anything. They were just so natural. They had a perfect posture. They had a perfect use of the
Yeah.
hand. They could coordinate difficult passages. I was like, I mean, what is this? Where is this coming from? I haven't teach this, and he can do it probably better than I do. You know?
Well, you would probably be a musician. You would probably totally agree with this. But
Mm,
I've used this analogy before. I've got really talented kids, but with music, my son was, he was average, right? He played violin, and he wouldn't deny this. He's an average violinist, right? And it wasn't a huge passion for him. We just wanted him to have an instrument. He chose violin. So I remember at one point, this little girl at the church we go to started playing the violin, and she would get up in front of the congregation and play. And there was just, I remember Chase said to me once, he's like, dude, now that girl, that's talent,
mm,
and he's like, I don't have that. And I'm like, well, fortunately he's not that passionate about it. So it's not like it
yeah,
broke his heart or anything. He was happy for her.
mm,
But there was something about the way she played where she knew where to emphasize. It was like she knew where to let off emphasis. She knew where to put it in. She knew where to, I don't know. You're the musician. You could probably expound on this a little bit more, but it's one thing to just play the notes. It's another thing to play the notes with passion. And this girl was like 9 years old and
mm,
she'd only been playing for a very short time.
yep,
That's talent. Like you
yes,
can't teach that stuff.
absolutely not.
You can't. Now, can you learn it? Maybe. But if you're born with it, like this girl clearly was at 9 years old, and then you're also learning, good luck keeping up with that girl.
That's the thing. If you have it, if you're born with that, and you just need to take care of it.
Yeah, nurture it.
Have to keep working hard, and you have to make sure that you are a good servant to this talent. Let's put it that way. Because some people, as you said, some people are very talented, and then they discover that early, and then they just they feel too comfortable with it, and they stop working, and it doesn't. You see this a lot in music. There's a thing, with child prodigies in music, and you see some kids that are just unbelievable. Like at 11, they are playing repertoire that you wish you could play when you and you know that you will never be able actually to play. I mean, at a level that is just unbelievable. But some of them continue working and transition from being a child prodigy to an adult. There's
Hmm.
there's something about uh there's something that definitely happens. There's a transition there, and some kids get lost, and
Really?
they're never as good as they were when they were kids. They're as adults, yeah. So
Because they didn't nurture it.
but for whatever reasons, yeah, sometimes they just get lost. I don't know how to explain it, but you see it. It's like they can still play, but it's not even close to this thing they had when they were kids.
Yeah.
So there's definitely a natural talent there, and and whether it is purposely or not, to keep that when you grow up, and to actually evolve to a master, it's something that requires attention, love, passion, work, and maybe something else. I don't know. Some people find it and some people lost it.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think with painting and drawing,
Mhm.
I think a lot of the reason people are confused about this, or not confused, that sounds sort of patronizing. I don't mean it that way, but um, some people disagree with this perspective is
Mhm.
because none of us are born making masterpieces. And so maybe there's this idea like, well, everyone has to learn. None of us could do it out of the womb. Well, but and that's why I like to use the word aptitude instead of talent,
Mhm. Mhm.
because it's talent. Some people just think that like you just pull this stuff out of your rear end if you're talented. No, that's not how it works. It means that you have an aptitude for the thing, right? And
Yes.
if you don't work, you're still not going to see it. You're still not going to, if you've got the fastest car in the world and you don't fill it full of gas and step on the accelerator, it's not a fast car. It's just a chunk of metal. You know what I'm saying? Like
I
you've got to do something. And so that's why I love aptitude, because like I said, in all this years of teaching, there are some students, no one comes good, but there are some where you tell them one time and they never make the mistake again. They're like, "Oh, I get it." The first time you teach them some value principle and they do it perfectly every time after that. And then there are
Mhm.
others where it's time after time after time. They just don't get it. They don't understand it. And you're like, "Okay, let me show you this way. Let me show you that way."
Mhm.
And that's the talent. It's that aptitude. It's like, "Oh, yeah, I
I
get it. Makes perfect sense to me." In fact, I've had students where it's like, "Oh, yeah, I get it, but what about this?" I'm like, "Not only do you get it, but you expounded on it." And you just needed that little boost, that little that the foot on the accelerator is all I did with the student, and they're gone.
Right, right. Um, and and I think there's something extra,
Yeah.
and I don't know how to put it in words. I think it's easier for me to spot it in a musician than in an artist, probably.
Probably because
But
it's performative.
yes, so I've seen people who are perfect. Just play a piece that is a very virtuosic piece. They play perfectly well. They are very young, but they didn't move me. It was
Like
so
that girl I was telling you about.
so technical. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
that's
like,
what I
okay,
mean.
no, I think there's something. Yeah, how that aspect, I'm still trying to figure out what's going on here, because how can you just understand all this in such a high level? But I mean, I'm not moved at all. It's like it's so dry. It's like it's so okay. Whether when but then there's this some other people who may not be as perfect, but then you are like, oh my god, this is incredible. Like there I think there's also that part of a talent that we cannot put it. I don't know.
Well,
I
I
don't.
don't think here's my theory on that. I'm with you 100%. There's more than one aptitude for a great painter, and it goes with to my definition of painting.
Mhm,
A great painter is a great craftsman,
mhm,
they're a great designer,
mhm.
and they're great with ideas or concepts. So
Right.
that you might think of them as like they're poetic, they're imaginative, right? And we
Mhm,
discovered on a recent podcast that acronym
mhm,
is CDC, which is a funny coincidence. But
mhm,
um, so you can have the aptitude for craftsmanship,
mhm.
but that's only one third of it. And what I was describing with someone who understands a principle, that's an incredible aptitude for craftsmanship. That's more of a
Right.
science aptitude,
Right.
right?
Right. Right.
And then there's the aptitude for design. And that's the person that can walk into your house and be like, "No, I think you need a different curtain for there. I think that furniture is not proportioned well. I think this."
Mhm.
That's not necessarily, you don't have to be a painter for that, but that's an aptitude for just aesthetics. That's a separate thing.
Separate thing.
And
Yes.
then there's an aptitude for imagination, and that's a
Mm,
separate thing. The greatest artists have 3 aptitudes, in my opinion.
mhm, mhm.
3. So when you say artistic talent, that's too broad. What does that
Yeah,
even mean?
right,
To me, the greatest to have all three aptitudes. The
right.
craftsmanship aptitude, they understand technique quickly and easily. They understand aesthetics naturally, and they have a creative imagination. And
Absolutely.
yeah, that's how I look at it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just not one thing, and
Yeah.
that's probably why. Yeah, some people have two, and then they're awesome, but there's something lacking there. You feel like,
Right. Perfect technique, no substance, right? Great
right.
design, no technique.
Oh, yeah, that's
Right.
more obvious. Yeah, when that happens, it's like, okay.
Yeah. Those are the yeah. Yeah. Anyway, this is a good conversation, man. I never thought we were going to go in this direction. This has been
Me
interesting.
neither. But it's being always well, I've had a lot of conversations about this, but it's always controversial. It's like because people think like you right, like some people think no, there's no talent, no, there's just hard work, no, there, and I'm like, I've seen talent.
It's so
Tell me this.
obvious.
I've seen it. I've been
It's so I don't understand how you can deny it. It's so obvious. You have to have your eyes closed.
yeah. I'm glad we agree at this point because otherwise the podcast wouldn't go
No,
things
it
are
wouldn't
wouldn't
go
roll.
well.
We'd
I
be
just
getting a
don't get
fight
it.
like, oh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, we'll see how the comments go. I'm sure we'll have some people that
Yeah.
disagree, but whatever, that's okay. All right, so we haven't looked at your work yet. So let's go ahead and look at your work. I mean, we did look at this one painting, which, man, again, dude, so happy for you that you got that into the museum. So what would you prefer to look at, Instagram or your website? What do you think is more
Oh, well, if
informative?
you have Instagram, or the website, yeah, either way.
Website? All right,
No,
so I
the
got
website, I don't in my website, I don't have those kind of still life slash spaces that I call them, like that green painting there. Yeah, no, that one. Yeah, that's
okay.
the detail of, okay, this is something that I've been exploring, or trying to explore more. Um, um, a lot of people don't understand this, and I think it's confusing in a way. This is a kind of a new concept that I started during the pandemic. I didn't have, we were all reclusive. We were all here in
Right.
our studios with no models, no one. So I just started painting. I knew I wanted to paint something like a still life probably, but I didn't know how to do it. I mean, I didn't know how to do it. No, that's what I didn't want to do it the conventional way. Let's put it that way.
You didn't know how you would do it.
Yeah, and I
Right.
and I and I also didn't want to do like a normal, thing, like you put a vase or a lemons or there and just paint it as realistic as possible. I just didn't want to do that. So I started that trying to add an element of abstraction, sort of say, or something that gives the painting a little bit of an idea that didn't necessarily was there. So anyway, what I
Hmm.
did with this painting, and that's not the full painting. Probably
It's
on the
not.
Instagram page is the whole entire thing, but it's a piece of fabric that I put on the table, and yeah,
You don't have the
it's
whole thing on here?
probably, let me see. No,
Oh,
keep
keep
keep.
going down.
Yeah, I think it is somewhere. If not, well,
Man, you've been busy. You got a lot of stuff here.
uh,
Oh, can we just back up and look at this real quick? This is your
oh yeah, yeah,
dad.
yeah, yeah.
This is your
Yeah,
dad.
that's my
Beautiful.
that's the
Man, that's
painting.
so meaningful knowing the story about your dad. That's really cool.
He was yeah, he was already like,
Is this your
and that
mom?
my mother was, yeah, that's my mother who was
Beautiful.
completely, taking care of him at this stage. So these paintings are really emotional for me and really personal. I have them here in my house, and
Mm.
and then I put a lot of
Man, I got to paint my
myself
parents.
in them. But
Go.
but again, if you ask me what are my best paintings ever, I would say those. But again, those are very personal paintings, very personal portraits, but I think they're really well painted.
They are
Uh,
very beautifully
and
painted.
again, never had any success with them, which it's okay. I
Well, you don't need to. I mean, they're yours. It's fun.
that,
Oh, wow. I
that's a cool
love
painting. Yeah,
this. I
yeah.
love
Thank you.
this.
This is a lot more loose on her blouse and all that, and my father is the same. And so this is the beginning. Oh, that's also
Self-portrait.
a portrait I did like a very quick, like 45 minutes. But that's my son. That's the details. I like to put details more than I like to put the full painting, because Instagram is a thing.
They
If you put
love
like,
details. So funny.
yeah, and especially when you put like a big painting, it looks so small, and then you don't you nobody can see your work. So with these small paintings that you put a lot of texture and a lot of detail, then Instagram is good for that.
Hmm. Yeah. I know. It's kind of my pet peeve, but I get it at the same
Oh, there's
time.
a painting
There we
there.
go.
Yeah. Okay, that's a kind of, it could be
Okay.
weird, but I don't know. I would like to keep exploring this area. So the
So it's
fabric,
realism and
well,
mixed with classical
yeah,
abstraction.
right. Yeah. It's a concept that I don't somehow, and I don't know why, I'm kind of obsessed with the white, with white paint, white color, and with different uh types or shades of
Different
white.
shades, yeah.
And actually, I don't know why, but Masquerade, the winner of a Portrait Society, is
Yeah, we need to pull that up just to make
it's
sure
a lot of
everyone's
white.
seen
There's a
it.
lot of white on that painting. So I think there must be something to to white and shades of white. I don't know. I
White's
think,
hard to paint too.
but it's fun.
But it's challenging to get those shadows the right colors.
One of the things that I've started doing after that transition that I told in 2016 is that I don't tone my canvases anymore. I paint on white linen, on just gesso, white linen, but then I use that.
Oil prime gesso,
Sometimes oil, sometimes it's
acrylic.
acrylic. Ah,
Do you
acrylic.
when you do oil, I'm sure you use rabbit skin glue, right? Or do you just buy it pre-primed?
Well, I try to buy it pre-prime,
Oh,
because
okay.
I don't like to be preparing too much.
I hate preparing canvases. Something awful.
Oh gosh, but it's part of it. But
Yeah.
that's another of those paintings that I'm trying to explore more
Yeah, what
about.
an interesting idea. The mix of realism but not really.
Yeah, and the left
Very
part of the
different.
painting is complete, made up. Anyway,
Yeah.
something to keep working on.
And then
And
this is again a lot of white, but that's a little more traditional of a
why?
still life. Yeah.
Yeah, the still life is very traditional, and it was hard to paint that vase. It was so hard.
Just
All the
because of the copper. Is that copper or is
It's a
it
copper,
brass? Hmm.
and it's copper, but also the dent, the
Oh
detail.
yeah, tedious.
Oh God, I was like, for the first 4 days, it didn't look like any, I was like, no, that doesn't look like the real thing.
Oh yeah.
It's like, oh my God, why? I cannot get it. My brain couldn't decode it. It was like,
Because
it
it's
was
not, it's too complex. It's not,
very
yeah,
complex.
it's not rational. I mean, it
Oh,
is really, if you really understand light, but it's like, wait, it's
yeah.
lighter here on the shadow side than on the light side. It's like, oh, yeah, I see
And
why that would
also
be.
what happens with light and shadow with those dents of the
Hmm.
bars, it's just becomes something completely different. And you think it's one thing, and when you paint it, you think that's what you're seeing, but then in your paint it looks like a different shape. It looks like that's not how it should be interpreted, So it was really hard. The rest of the painting is very free, and then it's very, like, there's a lot of, again, made up things there. I like to start experimenting with liquid shadows. I call them liquid shadows.
Just
I'm not
really
painting
transparent.
traditional. Yeah, very transparent. And and I don't know. I feel like I need to go somewhere now. I'm going. I wouldn't say I'm getting bored, but I need more. I need to explore something else. I cannot just
Mm.
continue just painting, you know, so let's say like so traditional and so like I love painting portraits in the traditional way, but there's a point where I feel like okay, you know, it's becoming a little repetitive.
No,
So
I
I
know
want
what you mean.
for
Yeah.
something else, to do something that I can create something that's completely mine and that comes from somewhere, in my imagination. But all, but certainly always juxtaposed with with realism. I think I can.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to depart, or I cannot depart completely from realism. So it's a mixture of realism or abstraction or whatever. I don't know. It's an idea. This
Yeah.
is a drawing of my wife when she was 5 months pregnant of our first child.
What a
And
beautiful portrait, man.
thank you, thank you.
Beautiful. Is it
Um,
charcoal or graphite? It's graphite.
Pencil, graphite, and that is a time that I knew that I wanted to look more into switching careers. I don't know. My wife was pregnant. We were about to be parents for the first time, and I was so into just teaching music, and I had this inside me, and I knew, it was a moment that I knew. I think no, the fact that I was going to be a father parent, maybe somewhere in my brain and in my soul, I knew I had to do what I was born.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what we discussed before, right? You know that you have something, and you better put it out there.
Mm-hmm.
Somehow this idea came to my mind that one day I'm gonna be old, and if I don't try this thing, I'm gonna regret it. I'm gonna.
Mm-hmm.
I better
You
start
know,
doing it. It
I'm
was
going
my
back
first.
to my ridiculous analogy of that fastest car. What a
Yeah,
shame if someone bought the fastest car and never drove it.
exactly.
That's kind
Yeah,
of how it would be if you've given all of this skill and talent and potential and then you don't use it.
yeah.
Yeah, it would be a shame.
I'll be ashamed. Yeah,
Yeah. That's man, you have a beautiful wife too, by the way.
she's
Yeah.
beautiful. And she's
Um,
she's supportive. No,
that's great. Is she still doing music?
she is. Yeah,
Is
she's a full
she?
time.
That's cool.
That's wonderful piano students, and she's great.
That's awesome. Oh, this is one of my
Love
favorites of
art.
yours.
She loves art too. I mean, we
Oh,
can
are
go.
you serious?
We're planning on going to the Met Museum tomorrow just because she told me she starts teaching next week. Like she starts job, regular job next week, and she's like, before I start, we have to go to the Met. I'm like, I'm
Dude, man,
all
you
for
guys
it. Yeah,
share a lot of interests.
yeah. She's
That's
she's
amazing.
intelligent and very passionate, and she understands. Like sometimes she says things about paintings that I'm like, oh, she's right. I didn't notice that.
Really? That's great. What
Yeah,
a great partnership you guys have. That's amazing.
thanks.
So, tell me about your process a little bit. It seems like you're an indirect painter. You're building up lots of layers of paint. Is that right?
But really, I'm pretty direct, but I would say I'm direct every time I layer. I make a layer. I don't know how to explain. It's like I try to paint out a prima, but of course I cannot make a painting like this in one shot. So I will try my best on my first pass. It's gonna be when wet. Then the next day it's pretty wet. You know that, and then I
Yeah.
continue. And then as it dries, then I try. My next layer will be like a lot of wet paint again, on top. It's not, I don't try to,
You're
I
not
don't try
glazing.
transparencies. I don't try transparencies. That's what it is. Yeah.
Right, right. You're not. So
Paint again.
it's a direct method,
Yeah.
but in layers just out of circumstance.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So I used to paint direct
Hmm.
and I was alla prima. I was religious about it. It was because I had a teacher that told me that if you had to paint on a painting twice, you weren't a good artist. I mean, I had so much bad advice in school. And and then I discovered Rembrandt and thought, "Oh man, well he's a
Oh,
pretty good artist." I was like, "Well, this guy's full of crap." But so anyway, so but at the time I just had this obsession with wet into wet. And so what I would do is I'd compartmentalize. I'd finish what I could do in a day, and I'd finish a head one day. And then I'd do the neck and like, and if I were doing this painting, I'd do the face in one day, then I do the torso in another day, then I do the shirt another day, and then maybe the hair another day. And I would just keep the edges wet so that I could join the edges from the previous day to the next day.
Mm.
But that's not what you're doing. You're going in the whole thing. You're laying in the whole thing, and
No, 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 I won't. No. So in that sense, it's pretty similar what you do.
oh
I didn't touch that background in a while. Like I had that face finish before I started working on the background.
oh, so you did do that. You do. I mean, you do that.
I do that pretty similar to what you're doing. But the only thing is I don't know if you ever use very transparent paint just to let to
Glazes.
glaze. Exactly, glaze. I don't glaze. Exactly. Yeah, I
I
don't.
do rarely, but I do,
So
but
the other thing I try to
only for effect. Like for example, I might glaze if I want something to be really chromatic, because
okay.
once you add white to something, you lose chroma, right? So if I want something really chromatic, let's say like a
Mm,
red scarf, I
right,
might
right.
paint it in cadmium red light and then
Mm,
glaze it with perylene, and then man, it's like a ruby red.
okay.
But
Yeah.
not like Caravaggio glaze, like layers of stained glass to build up a skin tone. I don't do
Right.
that. Yeah.
Right. 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 Well, yeah, I don't do that either. And also I never use soft bristles. My
Really?
brush, yeah, hard bristles all the way
Do you
from
even
beginning to.
own soft brushes?
What's that?
Do you even own soft brushes?
No, I don't. No.
Are you serious?
No, I'm
That's
serious. Yeah.
wild.
Yeah, I used to, but but there was a point that I felt like, these
Okay, now I
brushes
got to
are
look
not doing
closer
any
at your
these
work.
brushes are not doing any good to my it's just softening too much. I wanna feel, my stroke. I wanna see it. I wanna move paint in a more broad way. So I don't use soft brushes.
No,
It's just something
I see it. You're right. I don't see any evidence of it.
no, I don't do. But
Huh.
but but the thing is like talking but back at your work, like your your alla prima painting of your demo this year was incredible, man. That
Oh,
was
thanks, man.
breathtaking. That I had to look at that thing for like over and over. I mean, what you did there, but the thing is that looking at your finished painting, the winner of a people choice is equally good. It's just different.
It's the
And I was
same
like, I don't
process,
know
just
why this
layers.
this is so good. And I know you cannot paint this in one shot. So I was like, I would say if you look at Rembrandt a lot, you definitely decoded some sort of a secret there.
Oh
Because
man,
it
dude, you're
looks like
making my day
Rembrandt,
today.
nobody knows that Rembrandt is completely sure about it.
No,
So
you can't
that's
know.
how I felt about it. It was like how he does this. Is this incredibly good? And I don't know. I just don't know how I did it.
Oh, thanks,
It's
man.
awesome.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
you're really making my day. I'm gonna be skipping around the studio today.
I'm being honest. I
I
wouldn't say
appreciate
it's
it.
true, but it's I'm being very honest about it. So
Well, I'll tell you, the way I did the demo, all I do is do that 4 or 5 more times on top of it. That's it.
okay,
That's it.
right,
There's no except it's obviously smaller and smaller strokes,
right.
right? Just,
But
increasing
then
resolution. Yeah.
I think our process is very similar.
Yeah,
I
I
think
think it is too. I think it
again, if
is
you
too.
just keep applying paint, they are just you go over it again, and
Yep.
except for I don't use the soft brushes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I use soft brushes a lot. That's interesting. Well, if you saw the demo, I use fan brushes a lot, but those are bristle.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, that's interesting. You don't ever use soft brushes.
No.
Yeah, it's working for you because your paintings. I love the texture of
Here
your
on those
painting.
small, just that small. I mean, it looks big here. The face, just
Right
the
here.
woman.
Wait,
No,
which one are you looking at?
the top image. Yeah, that one.
Is
There.
that really how you paint it? You start with detail and you work out to the edges?
No, these were just studies. You know
Oh,
what?
okay.
In 2020 also, I decided that I wanted to do a series of studies. I called them etudes, and that's completely that's a term we use in music completely. Like you
Mm-hmm.
would play etudes, to get better.
How do
These
you
are
spell that? I don't understand what you're saying. Etutes?
etude is it's ETUDE etude. Like it's a French
Never
for
even heard that.
study
Okay.
for study. Yeah. And so I just wanted to get better at painting, and so I decided to do a series of etudes, and then I painted these very small. These are 6 by 8, I think. Yeah,
Oh, they're
they're
tiny little guys.
small. But it's just a face, so.
So man, even when you're working that small. Okay, so here's
Mhm.
where why I use soft brushes, but you know, it's so funny how there's so many different ways to do things
Uh-huh.
correctly, right? Because you're
Right.
clearly doing it beautifully. But when I work this small, for
Mm,
me personally, I find it frustrating the
mm,
texture that a bristle brush will leave in small areas like the eyes
mm.
because it's harder for me to manage the texture with a bristle brush, but you're managing it perfectly. I don't, it
It just
must be just the way our hands work or something.
it must be, I don't know, but also I like the way it looks. I like that rough look that
Yeah.
has pencil mark. Yeah. I kind of developed some sort of, I think it's a complex because before that exhibition that I told you I did,
Mm-hmm.
I just went with a lot of soft brushes and all, and I think I just wanted to go so like the other way, like completely. I'm trying to say
Oh, you're
that,
just rebelling against yourself in a way.
yeah,
Yeah.
against my own way of painting, and so I went completely the opposite. If I don't want to see anything soft in my paintings anymore. I kind of developed um some sort of I just like uh, yeah, I like the way it looks.
I just have to take a minute to thank each one of my generous patrons for your part in keeping this podcast going. I could not continue to do it without you, so thank you so much. If you're not a patron yet, but you love the show and you listen regularly, please consider becoming a patron. It's really easy to do and it doesn't have to break the bank. Just head over to theundrapedartist.com and click on the link Be My Patron on Podbean. And then choose a monthly donation amount that fits your budget. It's that simple. You know, I interviewed, I can't remember if it was Matt Smith or Bill Anton. Both have to forgive me for,
Mm,
I'm pretty sure it was Matt Smith. They're both
mm,
landscape painters, brilliant landscape painters. But one of them said they only use one brush. Now, they don't mean literally one brush, but one type of brush, the
okay.
exact same brush. It was like if I remember right, it was like a number 8 or number 10 square bristle, flat
Okay.
bristle. That's it. And they just turn it on its side to get a nice fine mark. And they, will twist it halfway to get a relatively narrow mark. And then on the flat edge for a wide mark.
Mhm.
And this artist does, I wish I remember exactly who it was. Pretty sure it was Matt Smith, but
I only use one type of brush, but not the same size. I use different
no, they
sizes of.
use the same
No,
size.
no, that's
So
crazy.
I
But I
said,
only
so
use
you go
two
out
brushes.
with a handful of the exact same size brush. So apparently he's got like 7 or 8 of the exact same brush,
Oh wow.
which is so liberating. Could you imagine how freeing that would be? Just keep it that simple.
There was a point where I felt like I'm not I'm not interesting. I all my brushes are filbert brushes, and I don't even know why people would bother to use flat brushes. But I don't find any use for that. And I was like, my
Yeah.
brushes are all the same, different sizes, that's for sure. And the small are round, because you
Mm-hmm.
found number one for those little details. But the rest of
Use a
my brush,
number 1 in bristle.
yeah, of course.
I didn't even know they made number 1s in bristle.
Uh,
No kidding. Okay. No, that's the thing. Yeah, if you're not interesting,
Zero,
if
zero, number one, number two, three, and number whatever, but always filbert. That's
well,
specific
except for
shape.
round. You said rounds for the number 1s,
Yeah,
right?
for the number
Oh, okay.
one, and zero, yeah, those are round, but I don't use any round brushes after number one.
Okay.
After number, maybe number two, maybe. I'm not sure. Just the small ones are around.
God, man, if you saw my brushes, you'd be like, I feel the opposite of the way you feel. I feel like I'm uninteresting because I have every brush imaginable. Every brush they make, I have it.
That is interesting. I
No,
wish
it's no,
I had use for
that's
that.
probably weakness. Like just make
Oh,
one brush work, man. It's like when Matt Smith told me that, I was like, oh man, that's like a real magician. He doesn't need all these tools. He's just taking one brush and just going to town with one brush. Like that's freaking cool. No, man, I've got so many brushes. It's ridiculous. It's kind of an addiction though. If I see a new brush, I'm like, what can I do with this brush? You know?
but have you ever think about this?
Mm.
Move back in time. What the heck Rembrandt used or Franz Holz? You know, we are so picky about brushes today. I'm like, I don't think they had half of. We have good brushes today. We are a
Yeah.
little spoiled. You know, whatever they use, it cannot be that good.
I don't know. I don't know. I
I
wonder
remember
that.
a really good bristle brush back in 1600s. It's impossible.
I
Like
don't
the
know. Yeah,
technology we
you
have
might be
now.
right.
And Velasquez paid, painted the best pictures ever with. I don't think he had good brushes on.
You
But
might be
that's
right, but that's an interesting idea. And I have
what
no idea. So you totally might be right.
I
But
just
I had the same mindset as a religious painter and painting the time of Christ, which was 2000 years ago.
right, right.
And then when I really when I thought, oh, everything's primitive. It's 2000 years ago. They had nothing. But when I really started researching the
Ah,
beautiful objects that they made,
wow.
even 5,000 years ago during the Egyptian times. I
Yeah,
mean, I think sometimes
yeah,
as modern people, we think that the people of the past had no craftsmanship skills or no resources. But and that's true when it comes to technology. But when it comes to craftsmanship, like,
right,
brushes, swords,
right, right.
bowls, cups, pottery, like they had some pretty amazing stuff. So I
Hmm.
don't know. Maybe they were limited on brushes, but I'm not so sure. It'd be an interesting thing to research.
It would be nice to research because I've always
Yeah.
thought I think these brushes gotta be like a lot better. Like there's technology to do a brush
Oh no,
and
I'm sure they're better. I'm sure they're better. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. There's no doubt about that one.
but who can paint better than Velasquez or Rembrandt? You know, that's what I mean. It's like
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
My point is like, if you really get to understand yourself, you will be able to paint with very limited resources. You know,
You
so
should be able to paint with your fingers. I mean,
right,
really,
right,
it doesn't matter the tool that much. You're right.
right. So you are an amazing artist. You use countless of different brushes, but
Right.
because you think different, see, and that's the beauty of it. That's why I think sometimes it's so dangerous to be a teacher. Sometimes it's like in my for myself, it's like, oh my god, I don't want to impose anything to this person or to tell them do it this way, like don't do this, because at the end, I mean, I know you have to have a really solid foundation, but I don't know. It's just me. I feel like I don't want to. I don't want anybody in 30 years to say, "Oh, my teacher told me not to do this," and
No,
that
it's not just you,
I,
man.
I
That's my
just
pet peeve.
really so much. It's like, oh, sorry.
That's my pet peeve, and it's probably because of the way I was taught. There was a lot of dogma the way I was taught. Do
Of
this or
course,
you suck. Do that or you suck. Um, and so
that's right.
my attitude is teach principles. This is how
Yeah,
light works. This is you know this is how to find proportion. This is how to see shape. But I don't
right.
care if you stick the brush in your rear end and spin on the canvas. If you can make it if
Oh,
you
that
can make it work for you, then fine. But here are the principles.
yeah, yeah. No, I think that's great. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's interesting too, because when I walk out into my classroom with my students, you can tell a difference between all 12 of them.
Oh,
I can point to them and say, that's a Paloma drawing. That's a
oh, that's
Sam drawing. That's a Naomi drawing. That's a Sean drawing. That's an Addie drawing. And it's
that.
because of that. They're like, well, if they ever ask me, how do you make a stroke? I'll say, I don't care how you make the stroke. Like I literally, you pull your own hair out and paint with it. I don't care. Just get it in the right place, the right value, the right hue, the right edges, the right value. I don't care how you do it.
I hear this from you because I see schools sometimes and everybody paints the same exact way and you don't
Oh, it
know
drives
who.
me crazy.
And I'm like, oh God, what are they doing? I mean, it's all correct, but there's no individuality in this. It's everybody seems like the same person, and I'm bored.
And some students rise above it, but many don't. When I was in a gallery years ago, it's been a long time. I think it was, when did I leave the gallery? 2008?
Hmm.
It's been a long time. But this gallery, I remember them saying to me once, this was just the beginning of this whole atelier movement.
Okay.
And this gallery that I was in said to me once, if I get another atelier student bringing in their portfolio, I'm going to throw them out the back door. He said, I am so tired of seeing this work. It's all the same. I do not want to see another atelier student.
Yeah.
And I thought, God, so it's a real disservice if and I'm not picking on ateliers. I own an atelier. His point was the kind you described, where you're teaching so dogmatically that you're telling your students this is how it should look. It should look like mine.
I mean,
Your drawing
now
should
it's
look
more
like my
raw.
drawings.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
And
yeah.
then those students go to galleries and they're like, well, we've seen this before. We've seen it. The 12 people that came before you that could have been your portfolio that
Yep,
we can't sell this.
yeah.
So yeah, I'm a big believer in that. Yeah, I'm with you 100% on that one.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. But also glad to hear it because maybe I have a chance to one day become a good teacher.
Do you not teach at all at this point?
I only have a few students that I just give them, it's like being what do you call it? I just tell them general things
Right.
once
You're just sort of a mentor.
a mentor, yeah.
Yeah. Gotcha. Well, that's really all I'm doing. I call it an
Mm,
apprenticeship program. There's no
okay,
they just do their work and I critique them occasionally. It's I mean it's a I'm maybe oversimplifying it a little bit. There's a curriculum,
right.
but there are no class times. It's not like I'm meeting them at 3 o'clock on Tuesdays and we're sitting for
Oh,
three hours and discussing art. No, it's they follow the curriculum and then I go out and I help them when they have troubles with the curriculum.
how did
So
you figure that out? How did you?
studied the Renaissance, man. That's how the old masters were taught. They didn't go, as far as I understand it, they went and studied with a master by being in the studio with the master, following the instructions of the master, helping the master with his, you know, mundane tasks. And they learn through osmosis as much as anything else. And I
Right.
thought, I really what I did, I said to myself, okay, what would I want if I were studying? Do I want to go and report to a class like I did at the universities? That there's value in that, but that's not what I
Mm,
wanted. And I thought if I could do it again, because I just went to universities, but
mhm,
if I could do it again, I would just want to be in the studio with a master painter and
yeah,
just watch them paint all the time and then be able to ask them questions when I was struggling. Like to me, that would be for me personally in my style of learning, ultimate um learning situation. And so that's what I made. And it's not for everybody, because
mhm,
it's not as structured as some people need.
mhm,
But for people like me who learn like me, it's great, you know.
yeah,
So, but
yeah,
that's some people need more structure and they need to go someplace where it's like do X, then Y, then Z, and like and
right.
they need that. But that's not the way my school is at all. They hang out here. I tell them what to do. I give them an assignment. They do it. And then when they start to struggle, they ring my bell. I go out and I tell them why they're struggling. I help them, give them a small demo, get them off on their path again, and then just repeat, you know?
That sounds that sounds
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, it works pretty well. Works pretty well. But like I said, it's not for everybody. There's something to these more organized schools where it forces students to be there at 7 o'clock every day. It's just different. So
It's in everything. Like when I was piano student here, specifically here in my master's degree, we got the benefit of studying with a real master, and he was giving us lessons in his apartment, his house, and it's a
Mm-hmm.
completely different, just the environment, just to visit him at different times. You know, it was in his house with his beautiful piano, with his just visiting this place. It felt so different, and he was quite older. And I remember one time he told me that, you know, still he needed to be a little bit, because he's part of a university, you know, because
Yeah.
we're doing our master's degree, but we could do this. Uh, so we took the lessons in his place, and then whenever we had the exams, when we went to the university and play for the jury.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's the way it worked. But I remember one time he was explaining something about the Chopin etudes and this work and the other one. He says, no, it's it it's just because today we have to compress everything. It's very different. In This is not how people studied music in 18th, you know, in the 1800s, at the beginning of 19th centuries. It's not the same.
What do you mean
It's
by
just
compress everything? Like squeeze it into
because
4 years?
right, or into
Oh my
two. This
gosh.
didn't work as
I
a master's degree, and then you are like, they tell you have to do two Chopin etudes, but in in Chopin's time, maybe later, at the beginning of 19th century, it's like, or the 20th century, I'm sorry, 1900s. You would do all Chopin etudes. That was normal part of a piano student, and that's why people were so advanced, because, but also
but
you
how
had a piano.
long would they study?
Well, they had a lesson every day.
No, no, no. How long? Like years? Like
Years. When
many,
you are
many years?
many years, many years. Most people start, you know, when they are 5, 6, 7, and they continue throughout. But in those times, your piano lesson was a daily thing. You go to your piano teacher
Dude, this
every
is
you go every
uh
day.
this
But
this
today
is
you go
so
every
relevant to me right now. And let me tell you why. Because
day.
okay. This isn't gonna be an interesting podcast. A lot of Jeff coming in clean here. But um one of the criticisms I get with my online and in-person school is
Mm.
actually the strength of my online in-person school. And it's
Mm.
a criticism that frankly just irritates the living crud out of me. And this is what it is. So in my school, there is no time. You
Mhm.
graduate when you've master. I'm going to put master in quotes
Right.
because
Right.
because you know I'm still not mastering everything, right? Like it's a lifelong pursuit. But
You're a master, but because of that, you know that you want
there's
to
a
keep
lot
it.
to learn.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's never ending.
But when I
It's
say
just
master, I mean that they're showing professional level. They don't need me anymore. Like they at that in that area of the curriculum, they don't need me to get it right. They can do it on their own. Okay. When they get to that point in that particular area of the curriculum, then and only then can they move to a more advanced area of the curriculum.
right.
So they could be in drawing for 5 years or 1 year. You know,
So
even they could be in drawing for 3 days if they're that
yeah,
good.
yeah,
But
yeah,
they do it until they prove to me
yeah.
that they can draw without my help.
Yes,
This is really rare. Like, I don't know of any other schools that do this. And the
I don't
criticism I
know.
get all the time, and it
Mhm.
irritates the crud out of me because it's so backwards, is that I am doing this in order to keep people in the school to continue to pay tuition.
Oh,
And here's the reality of it. This curriculum style is so grueling and difficult and so foreign to our modern culture that my dropout rate is insane.
uh,
So it is not only not
no, I
only
get
is
it.
it not benefiting me, but it's this method hurts me financially
Mhm.
because I lose students because of it. I had a student just the other day that I knew that if I didn't pass her off, she'd quit, and she did. But I didn't
Mm.
pass her off because she wasn't ready. She wanted to go into value and she wasn't ready, and I
Mm.
knew she would quit, and it hurt, but I could tell she was at her wit's end.
Mm.
I said, "I'm sorry, I'm not teaching you value. You still don't know this and this. You're still not." She quit. And then I get that criticism. Oh, you're just doing it to keep students. Are you freaking kidding me? No, no, I
But a lot
lose
of people don't
students.
know this. A lot of people, most people don't know this. And
Ah,
when you told me, you said something about, you said something, we were talking about something and you said, I learned it from the Renaissance.
yeah.
You said that, but well, because, well, that's exactly it. In the Renaissance, anybody who studied art back then was like that.
Yeah,
You
you
are
don't
an
just get passed
apprentice.
off and get a grade and move on.
No, no. It's
No.
a life. It's a way of living. Actually, it's a philosophy of living. Arts,
Mhm.
the way I believe should be learned is just a way. It's part of your everyday life.
To
Like
me, it's
you
yeah.
told me that, and I was like, you had a piano. That's the way you went to your piano. Yeah, it was like it was normal to go every day to a piano lesson. Like, it was just like that.
And would your piano teacher give you a more advanced song when you haven't mastered the previous
He
ones?
gave us more time. He always gave us more time. Sometimes he will tell, he would call me and say, "Come on Sunday. I want to see you again." Because when you are at college level, you have one lesson a week, 1 hour,
Mm,
1 hour a week.
that's
What is
ridiculous. How can you possibly
exactly?
get good
What is
at it? Yeah.
exactly? And then he was very generous, and he was always extending his hours with me and with my wife Maritza, and giving us extra days. But he had a lot of students. He was so good, and so he didn't have more time actually.
Yeah.
And the also the lifestyle, he also taught at a school, a music school, at university. So it's just that times have changed so much, but the art hasn't.
No.
It just is worse. I mean, it's not as, I would say, we are fine with, it's okay, it's good enough, but it's not good enough. If you when you are in front of a Velasquez, how I
It's not.
I I have to keep painting until I die, just to try to to get near
I
these
know.
people.
I know exactly. I agree. Not with your statement about yourself, but that's how I feel with
Yeah.
Rembrandt. And all of the people I look up to. It's like, oh God, I'll never even touch that. And what a disservice it would be as a teacher to allow your students to feel like they're successful when they're not, and then put them out into the world and say, okay, good luck.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? It's like we talked about earlier, man. It's hard. And it's not for everybody. And if you just send them out there not having actually learned something, but just doing their time, it's they're toast.
I think now is less time, less time, less time. That's why the stories are a thing on Instagram and everywhere. It's because people don't even have the attention to be there for 2 minutes. It's 1 minute. It's it's like it's
Yeah, it's
crazy, right?
crazy.
Because everything is more compressed, more compressed, more compressed, more compressed. But anyway.
I know,
Some-
it's
Something
weird. I
gotta
don't get it.
happen at some point.
And art is so hard. I always tell my students, because I do lots of things, I don't know if you follow my other page,
I
but
know that. Yeah, we
yeah.
talk about
Oh,
your
did
things.
we?
We talk at the
Yeah.
conference.
Yeah, so I mean, I think of
But you are a
myself
little
as
bit
a
of a
as a
Renaissance man.
as a tiny engineer, a little engineer, small e, um, little inventor, small I, like, and leather worker, metal worker, woodworker. I mean,
Oh,
I'm got my hands on a lot of stuff, and I always tell my students, I have done better work in all those mediums
mhm.
relative to what's out there with little to no experience than I'm doing in painting after 22 years of professional painting compared to what's out there. In other
Mhm.
words, I can hang with the best woodworkers with so little woodworking experience. I'm not saying I'm as good as the best, but I am closer to them than I will ever be to Rembrandt. And I've been painting for 20 years.
Everything, yes.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like
Yeah, yeah.
it is unbelievably difficult to be good at this.
Uh,
And yet,
eh,
and yet they come and they say, I got 4 years. Let's go. I got 4 years. I want to be as good as you in 4 years.
yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, okay, some of you can be because some of you are prodigies, as we talked about earlier.
Mhm.
Most of you forget about it. You're freaking kidding yourself. Like, it is freaking hard.
Yeah, it is freaking hard, and it's also very disappointing also to see people don't noticing the difference between a great
No,
work and a mediocre work. That's, oh my God, this is great. And you're like, that's not great.
no.
And then you see it in galleries all the time. You see it everywhere, and it's hurting the good artists, unfortunately.
What do you think it is? Why do you think some people can't see the difference?
Mm,
Even artists, sometimes I think they're not aware of where they are in their work. You know, I think we've all met the amateur artists that think they're at a different level than they are.
mhm,
And then we've all met the masters that don't see how good they are,
mm,
right?
it's-
You know, I'm always wondered what that is. Because one of the things to conquer is to know what you don't know,
mhm,
right? That's one of the biggest challenges. Know what you don't know. How, because you can't get better if you don't know
yeah.
that there's that there's somewhere to something to reach. You know, have you thought much about that?
Well, I have experience, at least for myself, being with someone and then looking at amazing work, and I'm saying, like, wow, that's incredible. Like, and then this person is telling me, but you can do, yeah, you're even better than are you. I'm not. I know I'm not. I'm
Oh, I
like, no,
get that all the
I'm
time.
like, no, I'm not. What are you
No,
talking
I know.
about? Absolutely not. Don't you see it? And I maybe they want to be nice to me, or but I don't think so. I
No, they
think
don't
they
see
just
it.
don't see it, and I'm like, no, this is, or So, but the reason for that, I don't know. I
It's
don't know
so
why.
strange, but if there was a way to like crack that code,
Yeah.
right? And maybe
What
you
did
and
I
I don't
do?
see it. Maybe on some level you and I don't see it. Maybe we're all blind just at different levels, right?
Yeah,
I don't
exactly.
know. But I've had the exact same thing happen. One of my idols is Carl Bloch, which is sort of a he's sort of an obscure artist. He's incredible. He does these great biblical scenes. And
Mm,
people all the time will be like, "Why do you paint as well as Carl Bloch?" I'm like, "Not a freaking chance." Like, I
uh,
haven't done anything even close to this guy. Like, I can't. I'm not worthy to polish this guy's shoes, you know. And like, but people say that, and I know they mean it, and I'm
mm,
honored.
yeah.
But I, it's like I have mixed feelings about it. I have two feelings. One, I'm
I,
honored, and then
mhm,
also I'm frustrated because if I reach Carl Bloch's level, no one's gonna
mhm.
notice it anyway. I mean, not
Well,
no one, but
it's
the
important for
average
you.
person.
Well, but why I mentioned it is because what you said is, if you want to keep getting better, the one thing is that you know where you are and what where you are, and what are your fortes and what are your weaknesses. If
Yeah.
you are not able to see these, you will stop growing. You will just stop getting better.
Yeah.
I think even if you get to paint as your this person that you just
Carl Bloch.
mentioned,
Yeah.
and nobody notices, at least you will feel accomplished. You will feel like, okay, it's for yourself.
Yeah, and somebody will notice.
Somebody,
Somebody. There are some people that see it, right?
somebody
And I
will
guess
see it.
that's the thing is
Mm.
we're not going to impress everybody, but let me show
No,
you Carl Bloch because I just want you and maybe the guests just that who don't know Carl Bloch. I suppose anyone
I
could just
don't
search it, but
the name, but maybe I've seen, his work.
let me show you a painting I saw. It came to BYU. He had all of his work come to BYU. Dude, you'd have to see this in person. It's bigger than life.
That's
I sat in front of this painting I'm about to show you for hours.
mm,
And they imagine these figures are about, if they stood up, they'd be almost 8 feet tall. Okay. And it was like nothing you've ever seen. This internet picture is not going to do it justice. Okay.
I
But it
oh,
was
yeah.
extraordinary. And the colors in this are all blown out. They're too
That's beautiful.
bright. You
Yeah.
know, oh no, 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 wait. This is the one. This is the
Yeah,
one.
but the other
There's
one
two
was
versions.
incredible. Yeah.
No, but this is the one I think, oh, I can't remember which version was at BYU because I've seen them both so many times. But look at that.
Yeah.
It's
That's
incredible.
incredible. Yeah.
Incredible. Oh gosh, I want to paint like that so bad.
What is the size of this?
Well, if you imagine they can stand up to be 8 feet tall. So I assume they're about 6 feet tall, kneeling. So it's probably 12 feet tall. It's an altarpiece. And they brought all these paintings in that were altarpieces. Like this one was there. That's bigger than life.
I'm sure I've seen his. I mean, these images are kind of familiar to me.
Well,
Uh,
he's a
yeah.
he's I mean, he's not unknown. This was there. This is small though, actually. This is smaller than life, if I remember correctly. Maybe I'm wrong. Um, but yeah, anyway, you see my point. This guy is off the charts. And he does genre painting as well,
Mhm.
like this kind of stuff. But we here in Utah see his work.
Oh, is that Christ extending his arms? Is that his?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah,
And that's
no,
part of a
of
bigger
course.
painting of
I,
Christ
I,
healing the
I know
sick.
what the painting is. There's a lot of kids and people
Yeah,
surrounding
yeah,
him.
yeah,
Oh,
right
wow,
here.
of course, that's a beautiful. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh God, yeah, yeah. I
That's a
know.
piece of it.
About now. Yeah, 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 yeah.
And that was there too at
I
BYU.
used to look at this image for a very long time when I was a kid. I grew up with a very Catholic grandmother, and she had,
Mhm.
you know, her Bible and or illustrated. And this, yeah, of course, I knew I know this. That particular one of a Christ like this,
Yeah.
I was like mesmerized. And I was a kid, but I remember my feeling that I was looking at Jeff, I mean, a little book like this, a little Bible like this, and
Yeah.
I knew I was looking at something that is just impossible, like how you do this.
I
I was,
know.
but I still
I
now
know.
I would ask myself, how do you paint this?
Well,
Yeah.
let me add this to it. So this painting BYU owns, which is a treasure. It's the best painting in Utah, as far as I know, that I'm aware of. It's like 12 feet tall by I don't know how wide. It's so grand. And the colors in this are completely off. It's so much more subtle and sensitive than this. Okay. But you can only imagine. I mean, it's incredible. So that's here in Utah, about 50 miles from here. But so he does things that are 12 feet tall like that, but then he does stuff like this painting that are
Hmm.
small. This is
Hmm.
like these are little paintings. And so like the
Very
scope of
hard.
his ability, like this painting is little. It's like if I remember right, it was only like 30 inches. So it's it's not he's not a one trick pony, you know?
The thing is that in a way, it's equally hard
It's
to
in a
paint.
way it's harder.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like, how do you do that?
In a way it's
So
easier
small,
too though. Yeah. It's
you know,
like it's that's the thing is its whole
harder.
if you get really good at little, hard's going to be difficult because it's got its own set of problems. Or did I say hard? Big's going to be difficult because it's got its own set of challenges.
Yeah.
But if you're used to painting big like I am, painting tiny like this has a whole new set of challenges. I've never painted small like this. I find this very difficult.
Yes.
Um, yeah, it's exceptional. But anyway, to your point, I've been through the same thing. People are like, "Oh, you paint as good as Carl Bloch." I'm like, "Oh man, I'm so flattered, but you're so clueless." But I mean, I love you for saying it. I'm not trying to be mean, but oh no,
No,
not
no,
even.
because that's not the point is that it's good that at least we can see on you know, it's everybody who can see, their pros and their cons, I think it's gonna improve somehow. The
Yeah,
problem is you see it. If you stop seeing that, imagine if you stop seeing, if you feel like every time you paint something is your ultimate masterpiece, I think I mean, maybe
no,
I've thought
you won't
that
grow.
for a second, and then in 5 minutes I'm completely like, it's okay. I too
Yeah,
like I've actually I felt very bad about pieces that after a week I have finished them that supposedly are very good, but I always feel like there's something always. I'm sure you feel the same. There's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
I could have done this better. Maybe this. I don't know. I don't think I've never fully satisfied completely
No, me
100%.
neither. Because you
I'm
only
always
do as good as you can, and then at some point, people always ask, "How do you know when it's finished?" And my answer is when I literally don't know what else to do. Like I've reached my capacity.
That's good.
Because
That's
if I could improve it, I would improve it. But I can't. I literally have reached my capacity. I
well,
cannot do
well,
more.
in my case, not necessarily. I felt like, well, it's the same principle, but I've stopped working in it because I'm gonna ruin it now.
No, but that's
Like,
the same
it's
thing.
gonna get worse.
That's the
Yeah,
same thing because you've reached your
it's fine.
capacity. If you do
Yeah, yeah,
more,
it's
you'll
fine.
screw it up.
Yeah. It's the
Yeah,
same
no,
thing.
that's what I mean.
Yeah.
And it doesn't even mean it doesn't even it sounds like I'm saying more detail, more detail, more information. No. I'm saying that I can't do better than this and I know it, so stop. I can't do better. Even though it's
Mhm,
not as good as Carl Bloch or Rembrandt or Waterhouse or Bouguereau, like
mhm.
I've reached my limit. Like I literally will ruin it if I do another thing to it.
Yeah,
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 no, I think we're on the same page on that one.
yeah. No, it's feeling that you reach your limit on this one, and even though you wish you would have done it better, but you didn't.
You
But
can't.
it's time to stop. But it's time to stop. So you have
Yeah.
to move on.
And maybe the next one you'll grow a 0.5%.
Right.
That's generous really, but
Mhm.
and then you'll keep getting slowly better. But man, dude, this has been a fun conversation. Like seriously fun conversation.
It's
So,
been great.
but I have to, it's been 2.5 hours. So we probably should wrap up. But let me ask you the question I ask everybody, my final question.
Mhm.
So what piece of advice would you give an aspiring artist that you either had when you were trying to figure this thing out or that you wish you had?
I think we talked about this at the beginning, pretty much at
Okay.
the. Um, if you had if you have this, um, let's call it whatever, talent, call, whatever word you want to use, it is because you have an urgency to create. You need to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Just do it. Just go for it. Don't think about the money. Don't think how am I gonna make a living. How just do it. And you said it. Don't quit, because then that's the thing. If you quit, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
There's no more. There's no more possibilities. If you continue, there's a chance you're not gonna make it, but there's a chance you will. So it's always you always have to have the hope, and the only way is just keep doing it. You have to
Mm-hmm.
keep doing it. Also, in a more terrenal, like cheesy, I don't know, like just compete, just send your work out, enter competitions. Like enter competitions, because you need this approval. You need somebody who knows more than you know to tell you, oh, I think you're quite good at it, and that will lift your spirit. That will make you feel like, okay, I think I have a chance. If you are this person that is always, no, I won't send this because I can do it better, I'm not ready yet, you will never be ready.
Mm-mm.
There's no way you will feel ready to send your work at any show or any competition or anything. Just you feel like you created something good enough, there's a chance to submit. you know I
Mm-hmm.
don't know. This is maybe not the best advice ever,
I
but
think it's great advice.
it will work somehow at some level.
I think it's great advice. Did you hear the story that Michael Shane Neal shared on his podcast? Did you by any chance hear that one?
I did, but remind me of which, because
Okay, so
I
well, of
didn't
course,
read it.
I'm not even tell. Did you hear the story? He told like 50 million stories. Okay,
Yeah.
the story he talked about with his mentor, and now I'm drawing a blank. I feel
Oh yeah,
terrible.
yeah, Kinsler.
Kinsler,
Yeah.
Kinsler. How he submitted a watercolor to some contest and it got rejected, and then the next
Oh,
year or
okay.
something, he submitted the exact same
It's
watercolor
that
and it
same
won
thing.
first prize.
I've always like, but that's a mind blowing
Yeah,
story. It's like,
it's
wow.
crazy. But the thing is I think it's really cool that how you did it. You went out, you looked for affirmation. You need some affirmation, but there's a fine line and a balance you have to strike. That's really difficult for me, at least, to strike,
Mhm.
because you, on one hand, you need to know that the market is ready for you, that the market is going to accept you, or you're not going to sell paintings. And so you need to look for some of those accolades and affirmations, but at the same time, you need to understand that just because you didn't get them doesn't mean they're not out there waiting, right? Because sometimes a really great painting still gets rejected.
Yes.
So it's
Yeah.
that really fine line where you can't let the rejections crush you,
No.
but you have to let the successes drive you at the
That's
same
true.
time, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's a tricky
And
thing to
all,
balance though.
well, also there's always an element of luck. There's a chance that,
Oh,
what
absolutely.
the jury is looking for is not what you're sending. That doesn't mean your work is not good enough. It's just that that's what happened to Kinsler. It's a
Mhm.
sad piece, but at this moment, the jury felt that's not what they were looking, and so see how it was accepted the next time,
Yeah.
because it was a good piece. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just
And more specifically, look at the judges
yeah,
and how do they paint? What are their tastes?
yeah.
Because sometimes it'll be very obvious why you weren't or were
That's
chosen.
why for me the
Yeah.
People's Choice Award meant so much,
Same here. I know.
because that people don't know necessarily, but they see and they feel. So your piece was felt by the majority of the audience, and that's to me that, I mean, People's Choice Award is kind. I mean, I'm not trying to say that the other award is not, but it's meaningful, man. It's like, okay, so majority of people here think this is the best piece.
Well, you know what's
That,
particularly nice about that award at the Porch Society is it's not a people's choice of 1,000 lay people. It's 1,000 artists.
but it's a mix too. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I like to think that not everybody, well, and it's true, even if they're all artists, not of all of them n- are at the same level.
No, no. There's amateurs and
But you
advanced, and
touch
yeah.
them, even with
Hmm.
being them all at different levels, you were able to somehow to move them.
Yeah,
that
yeah.
is, that is something, that to me is like
No, I know. I was really grateful to win that as well. I'm still striving for that Draper though, man. I'm
well,
gonna
I
follow.
could
One of
I
these
could
days, I'm gonna get it.
you know what?
Just like my friend Lewis over here.
But the thing
Uh,
is that now is also,
it's more
they don't.
money. Yeah. Wait, how much did you make on it?
It was 25, and the
Oh,
next
suck.
double.
Suck. They doubled it the next year. Didn't they double it the next year? Oh, dude. Well, David Casson won it when it was only 10. And then
Ah,
I think Michael Shane Neal, I think he said it was like 1,500
I
when
think
he
so,
won
yeah.
it.
I
Yeah,
think it's yeah, yeah, yeah. It
it's
was back
crazy.
2000, yeah, it was back then. I know.
Yeah,
Um,
they're really generous. $50,000 is so much money for free. I mean, you don't have to give them the painting. Like you come home with the painting and $50,000 check if you win it. I mean,
my
what a
winning
gift.
piece, my winning piece was
Hmm.
sold after I won the prize.
Did you sell to a private collector or?
Collector. So I got the prize, but I also sold the painting, which in the
Yeah,
all other competitions you don't have the benefit because they
they
buy
get the
it.
painting. Yeah.
So
Well, it
I was
was Jeffrey
great.
Larson,
David Larson,
Who won this year.
yes,
They
amazing.
the museum that Michael Klein is part of. Do you know that museum? It's up in New Hampshire or something or
I know about it. I know about it. I've never been there, but I know about it. Yes.
yeah, well they acquired
That's a
his painting.
New Salem?
What is it called?
New Salem. Is that it?
Yes, yes, New
New Salem.
Salem. Salem. Yeah.
Salem, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they acquired his painting. So he won the 50 grand and then I'm assuming they paid for it. They paid for his painting. And not only that, but it's in a museum and he
Exactly.
got paid for it and he won the 50 grand. Like that
Yeah, no,
dude was sitting pretty. He
it's
deserved
a
it though. That was
win-win situation. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was a great painting. Anyway, man, it was fun. Are you going in the spring?
I'm not sure yet. I'll see. Hopefully,
Okay.
there's some things that are kind of cooking for around that time.
Oh,
So
okay. Well, I hope to see you there. I'm
are
not
you
on the
going
staff
this
this
year?
year. I'm going. It's my first year in 12 years. I'm not on the faculty, so which is going to be a little strange, but I'm actually thinking this might be kind of fun because I get to actually attend all the events and just kind of
Yeah.
wander around. It'll be fun. So yeah, I'm going this year for sure.
Well, if I'm there, if I go to Utah, we gotta visit those incredible paintings, man.
Oh heck yeah, man! If you came to Utah and didn't reach out, I'd be offended. So make sure you do.
Yeah.
So yeah, all right, man. Well, thanks again. It was great having you. Talk to you soon.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for tuning in to the Undraped Artist Podcast. If you enjoyed it, subscribe. And if you could, leave a comment or review. That really helps the channel. Please share the show with your friends, and if you're feeling generous, consider a monthly donation at theundrapedartist.com. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you next week.